Chapter 2978. Hearing this, Xiao Fei froze and immediately looked at Lu Yan. Then, he realized that her face had turned green and purple. The informant was also trembling with fear. "What did you say?" Lu Yan thought she didn't hear him clearly, so she gritted her teeth and asked again. "Boss. This is news from China. Your sister fell off the cliff with Hua Xiqian at Yuewang Mountain and died." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Yan pointed a silver gun at his head. "Bullshit. Do you think I won't shoot you?" Lu Yan was furious. "Yan. Don't be rash. Let's figure out what happened first. Don't vent your anger on them." Xiao Fei immediately stopped her. "If you speak again, I'll shoot you too." Lu Yan glared at Xiao Fei with bloodshot eyes. Xiao Fei knew only the professor and Huamin could make Lu Yan so angry. To Lu Yan, they were the only family she had left in this world. "Shooting us won't help. What happened has happened. Why don't we figure out what happened first and see if there's a conspiracy?" Xiao Fei said rationally. "Boss, please spare my life. It's not my fault. I'm just a messenger." The man was scared to death. When Lu Yan's subordinates received the news, they were all terrified. No one dared to report it to their boss, but they couldn't hide such a big thing. Their boss might get even angrier. So, after much consideration, they decided to play rock paper scissors to decide the winner. This unlucky guy lost, so he had to risk his life to deliver the news. Fortunately, Xiao Fei was there to stop him. Otherwise, he would have been a corpse by now. "Tell those good-for-nothings in China to call me. I want to know the whole story." After a moment of fury, Lu Yan ordered coldly. "Okay, boss. I'll contact them right away." Lu Yan was no longer in the mood to fight. She quietly dropped her weapon on the ground. Her long hair was messed up by the wind. She looked into the distance in confusion and wanted to ask why people were born and why they lived. Was it to lose something? From the moment they were born, they had nothing. As they grew up, they had everything. After that, he watched as the people around him, his family, his friends, his lover, left him one by one. Arranging the fate of mankind should be the cruelest thing in God's hands, right? From the looks of it, living itself was actually a kind of pain. Lu Yan had no tears. She couldn't cry if the news of her sister's death was true. What else could she do? He didn't have the ability to come back from the dead. Regardless of whether they were sisters or brothers, they all had this life but not the next. Lu Yan felt a dull pain around her heart. It made it difficult for her to even breathe. Xiao Fei looked at Lu Yan's messy hair and disheveled appearance. His heart ached as he walked over and reached out his hand, wanting to brush away that strand of hair for her. "Don't touch me," Lu Yan said. Hearing this, Xiao Fei's hand froze in midair. "Please don't touch me. Let me be alone." When Lu Yan was hurt, she would isolate herself from the world and wrap herself up. No one could get close to her. Not even Xiao Fei, whom she liked. Seeing her like this, Xiao Fei's heart ached even more. At this moment, Lu Yan's watch beeped. She lowered her head and pressed it. Immediately, the person's image appeared in midair. "Boss, we're sorry. Please punish us." "How did my sister die?" Lu Yan's voice was filled with deep sorrow. Chapter 2979. Young Madam, she. The person on the other end of the line seemed to be afraid of Lu Yan and stammered. "Young Madam was kidnapped by Hua Xiqian and taken to Yuewang Mountain. Qin Chu, your brother-in-law, immediately went to rescue her. We followed them and planned to help them if necessary. But Hua Xiqian was so extreme that he jumped off the cliff with young madam in his arms. Did he really jump? Lu Yan obviously didn't believe it. It's true. Many people saw it with their own eyes. Your brother-in-law was the closest to them. He should know better. Where is he? He's receiving treatment in the military hospital. He's unconscious. He's unconscious. What do you mean? Lu Yan's face fell. After young madam fell off the cliff, Mr. Qin Chu vomited blood and fainted. Maybe he was too shocked. Standing behind Lu Yan, Chao Fei's heart sank just by listening to the conversation, let alone Lu Yan's. Have you checked the cliff? Are there any caves down there that people could hide in? Hua Xiqian is a cunning man. I don't believe he would dig his own grave. Lu Yan was experienced and didn't believe it was as simple as jumping off the cliff. I've checked, boss. It's the cliff below. No one has tampered with it. There are no suspicious caves nearby. Hearing this, Lu Yan's heart sank again. Boss, I'm sorry. We've been tasked with protecting young madam's family. Unfortunately, we didn't do our best. We won't complain if you want to kill us or torture us. The person lowered his head and apologized to Lu Yan over the phone. But Lu Yan wasn't in the mood to talk to him about punishment. She felt as if 10,000 alpacas had trampled on her heart. She wanted to curse but couldn't bring herself to do so. Lu Yan immediately hung up the call on her watch. Yan. Chao Fei wanted to say something to comfort her. Psycho Chao, do you think Dad will be as sad as I am when he finds out my sister is dead? It happened so suddenly. I don't think we can come to a conclusion so soon. Why don't we go back to China and take a look? Chao Fei said. Didn't you say you shouldn't come back? Lu Yan looked at him in surprise. It's different this time. Something happened to my sister's family. We have to go and take a look. Chao Fei was a very simple person. He was not interested in adding flowers to brocade, but it was necessary for him to provide timely assistance. Qin Chu had personally flown to Russia to perform the complicated surgery when Chao Fei was shot. Now, Huamin was in trouble, Qin Chu was in a coma, and there was a pair of cute children at home. No one could bear to ignore such a situation. Besides, Lu Yan was the baby's real aunt. Yes, we'll leave immediately. Because of Huamin's accident, Lu Yan stopped the war in the oil country. Because he didn't complete the task, he had to pay the employer double the commission. For Lu Yan, this was like cutting off her flesh. She had always valued money as much as her life, but this time, she was willing to risk everything. Lu Yan's sudden withdrawal alerted Ian in Israel. Lu Yan left halfway and offered to pay the employer double the commission. It's strange. I've known her for so many years, and she doesn't seem to be a person who doesn't like money, Ian said in fluent English with his hands on his temples and narrowed his eyes. Maybe she had something urgent to do. Do you know where she went after she left? Ian asked. We can't find out. The plane she was on had anti-tracking and positioning radar. We can't find her. Hee, this is interesting. She's playing hide-and-seek with me again. Ian laughed creepily. Chapter 2980. You still can't contact Hua? Ian asked. Nope. What about the informants over there? None of them, one of his subordinates replied. Good. It seems they've all been killed. If we want to know what happened, we'll have to go there. Ian stood up with a smile. Late at night at the Su family's mansion, Lady Su and the nanny bathed the two kids, changed their clothes, and sent them back to their room. Suyu went over with a few tablets, wanting to play games with the kids. However, Little Bean was so tired that she fell asleep. Pudding, on the other hand, was sitting quietly by the bed. She was wearing pink pajamas. Pudding, why aren't you sleeping? Handsome Sue, do you think Mommy will come back? No matter how mature Pudding was, at this moment, she was just a poor child who had lost her mother. Suyu felt a lump in his throat. Yes, I believe she will. She loves you guys so much. She won't just leave you guys like this, right? Yeah, I think she will too. She told me before that she wants to see us grow up and get married. She also said that when Little Bean and I get married, she'll be as sad as Daddy. She also said that you'll cry like a dog, Handsome Sue. Suyu, she said bad things about me behind my back. Suyu pretended to be angry, but in fact, he was very sad. Yeah. Mommy said that Handsome Sue is so close to us that he'll watch us grow up and treat us like his own daughters. I didn't know she had such a high opinion of me. Suyu pursed his lips. It's late. Pudding, you must go to bed. Handsome Sue, tomorrow. I want to see Daddy. He hasn't woken up yet, Suyu said. I know. I won't disturb him. I just want to see him. Just one look. At least I'll know that he's still here and didn't abandon us. What about Little Bean? Suyu was afraid that Little Bean would know. That's easy. I'll ask Grandma Sue to take her out for dessert. I'll take the opportunity to go in your car. Then, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. What you need to do now is to go to sleep. Otherwise, you won't be pretty. All right. Good night, my little pudding. Good night, Handsome Sue. Suyu gently kissed Pudding's head with the love and care of a father. After coaxing the twins, Suyu couldn't fall asleep. These few days, the bits and pieces of getting to know Huamin were like a movie. Those scenes kept replaying in his mind, and he couldn't erase them even if he wanted to. Suyu lay on the bed and took out his phone. He opened a photo of Huamin from a long time ago. It was when Huamin was a doctor at Southside. He was wearing a white coat and a pair of black-rimmed glasses. Although he was dressed very old-fashioned, his eyes were always full of spirituality. Once you fell in love with him, you would never be able to let him go. Dr. Hua, are you afraid that I'll keep chasing you? If you don't accept me, you'll feel bad. If you accept me, you're afraid that Qin Chu will be sad. That's why you ran away and hid. Come back. I won't chase you anymore. Even if I become gay, I won't bother you anymore. I won't bring trouble to your family. As long as you're alive. As long as you come back. I'll do anything, really anything. Suyu's voice became smaller and smaller. The next morning, he took out a strand of hair that he had painstakingly pulled off when he said goodnight to Pudding the night before. He planned to do a DNA comparison with the nameless female corpse. Chapter 2981. Lord Su, over here. Tang Chuan arrived even earlier than Suyu. Did you not sleep last night? Suyu asked when he saw Tang Chuan's dark circles, which were even more serious than his own. Don't mention it. My granddad stayed over in my room for the first time and cried the whole night. She used 4 rolls of tissue paper and wetted 2 of my Armani shirts. Then, she fell asleep and had nightmares. I didn't sleep much because I wanted to watch over her and let her sleep well. When did you become China's good boyfriend? Suyu glanced at Tang Chuan and asked. Wrong. I'm China's good fiancé. By the way, Lord Su, did you bring Pudding's hair? Yes. Suyu took out a white paper bag containing Pudding's hair. To be honest, I don't know. I wanted to ask you yesterday. Isn't my sister-in-law pregnant? Why don't you just check if the female corpse is pregnant? Tang Chuan asked curiously. You're so uncultured. It's scary. Tang Chuan, come on, let me teach you a lesson today. First, if the female corpse is also pregnant, can you be sure that she's Mian just because she's pregnant? Isn't that a bit too general? Only by doing a DNA comparison can the police confirm the corpse's identity. Do you think you're some kind of god? You think you can just say who she is? Tang Chuan, second, Mian fell from such a high place and was soaked in the sea for so long. It's very likely that she had a miscarriage. So, you can't even be sure that she's pregnant. What's the point of checking? Even if you check, you can't prove her identity. That's a waste of time. Tang Chuan, you have a point. You're lucky that you're talking to me. If you ask Gao Ran, he'll probably curse you to death. If all police officers handled cases like you, they would have been fired long ago. Alright, let's hurry over. Tang Chuan looked embarrassed and did not argue with Su Yu. The two of them walked over and handed the hair to the inspector. Half an hour later, young Master Su, are the results out yet? Su Yu asked nervously. Yes, it has been confirmed that it is indeed not Miss Huamin's corpse. That's good. Su Yu let out a long sigh. The huge stone in his heart was quickly lifted. Actually, this is good news for us. Tang Chuan was elated as well. Continue to order the search and rescue team to expand the search area, Su Yu said to Tang Chuan. All right. What about you? Are you going to the company later? Tang Chuan asked. Su Yu probably hadn't been to Imperial Star since the incident. I'm going to the military hospital. The specialists from Jing City are already here. They're going to treat Qin Chu today. Lord Su, you're really China's best rival in love. Get out. Alright, I'm sorry to hold you up. Go now. By the way, Old Wei and the others might come over later. I heard that. Sister-in-law Xiao Wei is also seriously ill and has a high fever. Okay, I got it. Su Yu then drove directly to the military hospital. On the way there, he remembered that he had to bring Pudding with him, so he called her. The Su family's chauffeur drove Pudding to Su Yu's car. Then, the two of them went to the military hospital together. Pudding, don't cry when you see your daddy later, I know. Today, Uncle Su found a lot of good doctors to treat him. I'm sure he'll wake up soon, Su Yu comforted the child. Don't lie to me. I know that he might never wake up, Pudding said. Who told you that? Su Yu frowned slightly. Chapter 2982. Do you still need to say that? If my daddy's condition wasn't serious, you wouldn't have to find a specialist from Jing City, Pudding said. Su Yu, if you can get a specialist from the military hospital in Jing City, it means my daddy's condition is very bad. Su Yu, no, Pudding, listen to me. Pudding, handsome Su, you just want me to feel better. I understand. It's okay, really. I've already thought of the worst-case scenario. Su Yu's heart ached slightly. He reached out and patted Pudding's head. Do you believe in handsome Su? Of course. Pudding nodded. Do you believe in your daddy? Su Yu asked again. Of course. Good. Then you must believe that your daddy will be fine, and your mommy will be fine too. Enrich, okay. I know you're just trying to comfort me, but it's not wrong to think this way. Pudding sighed slightly. Then, Su Yu held Pudding's hand as they walked into the hospital. When they arrived, Jiang Xiaowei and Wei Liao were already there. Gao Ran was also here, Lord Su, the female corpse. Gao Ran was about to ask Su Yu about the search and rescue team's progress. But when he saw Pudding beside Su Yu, Gao Ran immediately swallowed the rest of his words. Su Yu gave Gao Ran a look, and the latter immediately changed the topic. The specialist is already inside. We just need to wait for the results. Emichim, let's wait patiently. Suyu walked over and sat down on the bench by the door with Pudding in his arms. Pudding, can you come stay with Auntie for a few days? Yunchu has been talking about you. Jiang Xiaowei immediately squatted down and held Pudding's little hand. Her heart ached. Jiang Xiaowei's eyes were red and swollen. She must have cried many times. It was said that she had a high fever, so Wei Liao brought her to the military hospital to see a doctor. It's okay, Auntie Xiaowei. My sister and I are fine at Handsome Sue's place. Auntie will take you out to play in a few days. Jiang Xiaowei always wanted to do something for the children. If Huamin was really dead, then these two children would indeed be the pitiful Xiao Chao without a mother. Okay. When we want to go out and play, we'll call Auntie Xiaowei and she'll bring Yunchu out, Pudding said. Jiang Xiaowei nodded with tears in her eyes. Rather than saying that Jiang Xiaowei was comforting Pudding, Pudding was comforting her. In fact, with the child's current mental state, how could she be in the mood to play? But if he refused, wouldn't the adults be even more worried? Therefore, in order to make Jiang Xiaowei feel better, Pudding lied. While Jiang Xiaowei and Pudding were talking, Gao Ran pulled Suyu to the side. He gathered with Wei Liao and the other two and discussed in low voices. How's the identification of the body? Gao Ran asked. The results are out. It's not Mian, Suyu said. That's great. Gao Ran and Wei Liao were also relieved. Old Wei, about that day. Suyu looked at Wei Liao with some embarrassment. In fact, he wanted to apologize for his impulsiveness that day. After so many years of being buddies, he and Wei Liao didn't seem to have such a big fight. That's not a big deal. Let's not talk about it. The current situation is, what should we do? Should we continue to capture Huasiqian's remaining members and ask them if their boss has any other plans? I have a feeling that guy won't kill his people so easily, Wei Liao said. Chapter 2983. Old Wei is right. I was thinking the same thing. Old Gao, I'll leave this to you. Huasiqian's business isn't legal. I've collected a lot of information on his crimes. Young Master Shin seems to have a lot of it too. We can take this opportunity to shut down the Hua Corporation. Then you can bring your men and arrest him openly. What happens after we arrest him? Gao Ran asked. Torture him. Whatever. See if we can get anything out of him. Didn't Aching tell Qin Chu about Huasiqian's island? But Aching is missing now. We lost contact with him after Qin Chu's accident. We don't know if he ran away or was killed by Huasiqian's men. Don't worry about Aching for now. Besides Aching, Huasiqian has other men. Don't even let go of the small fry. We can't let go of any valuable clues. Okay, I understand. I'll send my men to arrest him. Send me the evidence of Huasiqian's crimes. No problem. Suyu nodded. The three of them chatted. The door to the ward opened. Suyu hurried over. He saw Professor Luo from the capital city. Professor Luo was no stranger to everyone. He was a famous professor in the capital city. He had invited Huamin to the capital city several times, but Huamin had turned him down every time. But in name, he was Huamin's teacher. Huamin had won many awards and been promoted because of Professor Luo. Professor Luo was old. He had reached the age where he should retire. Because of his excellent medical skills, the capital city's military doctors were reluctant to let him go. Plus, Professor Luo and Su Yu's grandfather were close friends. So, whenever Su Yu asked, he would grant him anything. Professor Luo, how's my friend? Suyu asked anxiously. This was the first time Suyu had admitted that Qin Chu was his friend in public. To be honest, even Gao Ren felt warm when he heard Suyu call him that. Your friend's condition doesn't look good. Professor Luo sighed slightly. Suyu's heart sank when he heard this. Everyone became nervous as well. Jiang Xiaowei could clearly feel that her hand that was holding the pudding was gradually becoming cold. Professor, what's going on? Can you tell us in detail? Suze was panicking. He knew that a patient that even Professor Luo couldn't do anything about was basically hopeless. He's unconscious and in a deep coma. His physical indicators are very weak. There are two important points. First, the patient doesn't have the consciousness to wake up. In other words, the patient has given up on himself. Second, there's a toxin in the patient's body that has accumulated over a long period of time. It's a psychotropic drug that suppresses the cerebral cortex. It's a bit toxic, and his liver has begun to show signs of damage. Then, what will happen if this continues? Suyu wanted to ask about the worst-case scenario. Pudding watched the heart-wrenching conversation between the old man and Suyu. Professor Luo lowered his head and looked at the data on Qin Chu's body. Then, he looked at Suyu. He said slowly, to be honest, if this continues, the patient will be brain dead in less than a year. If his liver isn't damaged, he might be able to live in a vegetative state for 3 to 5 years, or even 8 to 10 years. But now that he's in a coma, his liver's necrosis has accelerated. It will only accelerate his death. Death? Suyu gasped. Chapter 2984. Yes, he won't be able to hold on for long. Once the liver is completely necrotic, even God can't save him. Then, is there no other way? Yes, there are 2 ways to save him. As soon as Professor Luo finished speaking, Pudding stood up before Suyu could say anything. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel polite enough to interrupt the adults. Grandpa Professor, what's the way to save my daddy? Professor Luo glanced at Pudding and looked at her in surprise. Is this Huamin's child? He asked. He knew that the patient this time was Huamin's husband, so he knew when he heard the child called Qin Chu daddy. Yeah, she's one of Huamin's twin daughters, Suyu said. Professor Luo looked at Pudding lovingly. Professor Luo nodded and continued, the first way is that the patient has a strong will and a strong desire to live. Maybe he'll be able to wake up. Once he wakes up, everything will be fine. Then, what's the second way? Suyu asked. The second way. To be honest, the chances are even lower. You can find a better doctor who dares to remove the necrotic organs while he's in a coma. The surgery isn't difficult, but the problem is that the patient won't be conscious. Even after the surgery, he'll still be in a vegetative state. Then, his liver might continue to necrosis. Unless the doctor who performs the surgery can find a drug that can remove the toxins from his body, then the liver won't continue to necrosis. But there's another possibility. Even if you find a better doctor who can remove the toxins from Qin Chu's body, but Qin Chu doesn't want to wake up, then the result will still be the same. He'll be in a vegetative state for 8 to 10 years. So, you guys have to be prepared for the worst. Professor Luo's explanation was complicated, but everyone understood. After hearing this, Jiang Xiaowei hugged Pudding and began to sob quietly. How can this be? What will happen to the twins in the future? Jiang Xiaowei was going crazy. The news of Huamin's death was a heavy blow to her group of friends. Now, Qin Chu's situation was even more worrying. Zhu Lingling's throat was basically unable to speak at home. Her mouth was full of mouth ulcers, and everything she ate hurt. Even drinking water was painful. Originally, she wanted to go to the hospital with Gao Ran today, but Gao Ran saw that it was useless for her to come. She would only be sadder and angrier. Sure enough, after Professor Luo finished speaking, everyone became listless. Su Yu's mood these days could be described as exploding. She wanted to scold him, but she didn't have the strength to do so. Professor, can you operate on Qin Chu? I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's not that I don't want to help you, it's just that I'm not confident. Professor Luo said. If even you aren't confident, then no one in the country would dare to do this surgery. Su Yu was almost desperate. My suggestion is, you can try to contact a liver surgeon in the United States, as well as a pharmaceutical doctor. You can detoxify him first, then perform the surgery. Isn't Qin Chu from Harvard Medical School? I think you can try to contact his school, his professors, or his classmates. Maybe, there's still hope. Okay, that's all we can do. Thank you, Professor. Su Yu lowered his head dejectedly. You're welcome, I didn't help much. Oh right, did you find Huamin? Any news? Professor Luo had been thinking about Huamin ever since he heard that Huamin was missing. Chapter 2985. Not yet. Su Yu said dejectedly. Oh. That's a shame. Professor Luo also looked regretful. That's the result of the consultation. I'll go back to Jing City in a bit. Okay, Professor. The car and flight are ready. Thank you for your hard work. Not at all. When you see your grandpa, say hello to him for me. Sure. Just like that, Professor Luo left the military hospital with his assistant. After Professor Luo left, Su Yu walked over and picked up Pudding. Promise me you won't cry. But he'll die. Pudding tried hard not to cry, but she couldn't stop the tears from falling. He won't. Trust me. I'll continue to contact the doctors in the States for him. I'll get someone to contact Rick later. Right. Uncle Rick should have a way. Do you have his number? Su Yu asked Pudding. I don't have Uncle Rick's number. But I think we can get Auntie Cece's number. They're together, Pudding said. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? Xiaowei, do you have Cece's number in the States? Su Yu looked at Jiang Xiaowei and asked. Jiang Xiaowei took out her phone and scrolled through it. Then, she shook her head. I only have her WeChat. But after she went to the States, she rarely uses WeChat. I haven't seen her post in a long time. Her sister should have it. Su Yu immediately took out his phone and called Nie Lingxian. Nie Lingxian, who was on set, was ecstatic when she received Su Yu's call. President Su. She tried hard to suppress the ecstasy in her heart. Give me your sister's number in the States. Do you need her for something? Yes. Okay. I'll send it to your WeChat later. Okay. Then, Su Yu hung up. Everyone, let's go back. I'll contact Rick and ask him to contact the doctors over there. They'll definitely cure Qin Chu, Su Yu said to everyone. What about Mian? Jiang Xiaowei asked in a hoarse voice. I'll also ask Gao Ran to find Hua Xiqian's subordinates and ask them if Hua Xiqian has anywhere else to go. Maybe he's already escaped. Anyways, we can't let go of any opportunity. Don't worry, as long as I, Su Yu, am alive, I will never give up on Huamin. Su Yu looked at everyone and said word by word. Everyone believed that Lord Su was a man of his word, and he was definitely not putting on an act. He would definitely do what he said he would. Handsome Su, little bean, and I didn't make a mistake in loving you. Pudding leaned over and kissed Su Yu on the cheek. Pudding thought handsome Su was so handsome at this moment. No matter how long it took, as long as there was hope, as long as he hadn't found Huamin's body, he would never give up looking for her. What kind of stubbornness was this? Wei Liao and Jiang Xiaowei weren't surprised, because with Su Yu's love for Huamin, this was expected. When I find your mommy, you two have to love me even more. Seeing Su Yu act like a spoiled child with a 3-year-old, everyone was speechless. After everyone left the hospital, Su Yu asked Jiang Xiaowei and Wei Liao to take Pudding back first. Pudding originally wanted to go back to the Su family, but Jiang Xiaowei took her to the Wei family, saying that she wanted to see Wei Yunchu. Su Yu went to see Shen Mingxi first. President's office of the Shen Corporation. When Su Yu was brought in by the female secretary, he saw Shen Mingxi feeding Hui Yanyan's daughter. The two of them were very affectionate. It seemed that the rumors about Shen Mingxi bringing a burden with him were true. Lord Su, you're here. When Shen Mingxi saw Su Yu, he immediately stood up. Mingxi, give me all the criminal information you have on the Hu Corporation. I want as much as you can. The sooner, the better. Su Yu went straight to the point. Chapter 2986. Are you going to teach him a lesson? Shen Mingxi was slightly surprised. No. After Su Yu's answer, Shen Mingxi was even more confused. Hua Xiqian kidnapped Huamin and committed suicide by jumping off a cliff, Su Yu said succinctly. Shen Mingxi was completely at a loss. There was too much information in these 2 short sentences. Therefore, Shen Mingxi couldn't digest all of it. What's with that expression? Su Yu looked at Shen Mingxi in confusion. Lord Su, don't mess around. Shen Mingxi obviously didn't believe him. Do I look like someone who would joke around with Huamin's life? Su Yu glared at him. Then, did something really happen to Huamin? Yeah, Su Yu answered with a heavy heart. How come I didn't hear anything about it? Shen Mingxi was dumbfounded. I kept it a secret. How could you have heard anything? I see. Then. Since Hua Xiqian is no longer around, isn't it useless for you to have these things? I have my uses. Su Yu obviously didn't want to say more. Okay, I'll give them to you now. Shen Mingxi was easy to talk to. He opened the safe in his office and opened it with layers of passwords. Then, he took out a thick stack of documents. Everything I found is here. Hui Yanyan should have more. But she's crazy right now and emotionally unstable, so I don't know if she'll tell me. Then ask around. The more, the better. I want the whole corporation to disappear from this city, Su Yu said angrily. Yeah, that would be best. People like Hua Xiqian should have died a long time ago. Seeing that Su Yu didn't say anything, Shen Mingxi changed the topic. It's just a pity for Huamin. Su Yu's eyes darkened, and he seemed even more depressed. Qin Chu must be feeling worse, right? Shen Mingxi asked. As for Qin Chu, forget it, I'll talk to you when I have time. I have something important to do now. Alright, I'll leave you to it. If you need anything, feel free to contact me. Okay. Su Yu nodded and was about to leave. He glanced at Hui Yanyan's daughter Tian and asked Shen Mingxi. If Hui Yanyan is crazy for the rest of her life, do you really intend to raise this child by your side? I haven't thought that far ahead, but I won't leave her alone for the time being. Tian is innocent, Shen Mingxi looked at Tian and said sympathetically. Then what will you do in the future? You won't remarry. With our status, women would be willing to marry us even if we had 10 children, let alone 1, right? Shen Mingxi joked. Not necessarily. If you still want to be with Wei Ying, you can't. Su Yu's words made Shen Mingxi's heart tremble. Yes, any woman could accept Tian, but not Wei Ying. The hatred between Wei Ying and Hui Yanyan was irreconcilable, and it still hadn't been resolved yet. If he still wanted to be with Wei Ying, then the child was indeed the biggest problem. Between Wei Ying and me. It's impossible, right? Shen Mingxi laughed self-deprecatingly. He knew how sad Wei Ying was because of what he had done in the past. Don't make fun of yourself. I can see that you still have feelings for her, Siyu said. But she has that kid from the Yi family by her side. Is that kid from the Yi family your match? Shen Mingxi, why are you so unconfident now? Su Yu questioned angrily. Chapter 2987. It's not that I'm not confident, but I really don't have the face to see Wei Ying. If they cared about their dignity, then most couples in the world would break up. I think, in a relationship, someone has to play the role of the shameless. If both of them have self-esteem, are arrogant, and won't bow down to anyone, then what's the point of dating? Lord Su, you're like a love expert now. Forget it. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Anyway, you'd better think about the kids. Did my mom call you? Shen Mingxi asked. Don't worry about that. I'm saying this for your own good. You don't have to send them to an orphanage, but you can find a good family to adopt them. You don't have to keep them with you, Su said. Lord Su, if something happens to Huamin, Qin Chu can't take care of them, and the twins will be homeless. Will you sit by and do nothing? Of course not, Su said without thinking. Then it's fine. Put yourself in my shoes. That's different, Mingxi. How is it different? They're both women we like. He smiled bitterly. There's no hatred or misunderstanding between me and Huamin, unlike you and Hui Yanyan. In Su Yu's heart, no one could compare with Huamin. Shen Mingxi knew he couldn't argue with Su Yu about anything related to Huamian. After all, he had been bullied by Su Yu. Okay. You're good looking. You're right. Su Yu, I'm going. Call me if you need anything. Su Yu turned to leave the Shin Corporation and received a WeChat message from Nie Lingxian. It was Cece's number in the U.S., Su Yu dialed it without thinking. Hello. A man answered. Hello, I'm looking for Cece, Su Yu said in English. Who are you? The man seemed displeased. Su Yu reacted immediately. Instead of answering his question, he asked, Are you Rick? Yes. It was indeed Rick's style. He had always been cold and aloof. He didn't even say a word of nonsense. That's great. I'm looking for you. Su Yu directly switched to Chinese. You are. Rick wasn't very familiar with Su Yu, so he didn't recognize the voice. Su Yu. What's the matter? Rick continued to be aloof. Something happened to Qin Chu. Did you know that? What is it? Su Yu then briefly told Rick about the important points. It was about Huamin falling off the cliff and Qin Chu being in a coma. Rick remained silent after hearing that. Rick, are you still listening? Su Yu was also depressed. It was difficult to communicate with a taciturn person. He didn't understand why Nie Lingshuan's sister, Cece, would fall in love with such a man. I'm listening, what do I need to do now? Rick knew that Su Yu must have a plan to deal with him. The military doctor in Jing City wants to contact Qin Chu's mentor or classmate at Harvard Medical School. He wants to find an excellent hepatologist and someone who knows how to make the antidote. He wants to operate on Qin Chu as soon as possible. Okay. We'll keep in touch. Let me know if there's anything new. Okay. Then, Rick hung up the phone. Rick was such a person. When you tell me about it, I will know it in my heart. You don't need to tell me. I'll do it well. Even if I don't show any expression on my face, it doesn't mean I don't care. After hanging up the phone, Rick lowered his head and sat in a corner of the sofa. He was silent. "Rick, what's wrong?" When Cece came downstairs, Rick had been sitting there without moving for 3 minutes. Chin Chu and Huamin. Something happened to them. Rick raised his head, unable to hide the sadness in his eyes. Chapter 2988. Huh? What happened? Cece panicked when she heard the news. "It's a little complicated. I'm going out for a while. You should sleep early." "Rick." Cece seemed to want to know. She pulled Rick's sleeve and refused to let him go. Rick turned his head and looked at Cece's pitiful eyes. He said gently, "You're pregnant. You should take care of your health. It's better if you don't ask. You'll be more worried if you know. Plus, it won't help. Leave it to me. You take care of yourself." "Okay." Then, Rick left the villa. Before he left, he reminded her again. "Take good care of Madam. Don't let anyone touch her." "Yes." Cece was less than 2 months pregnant. They had been together for many years and were finally going to be parents. Cece's pregnancy was both a blessing and a curse for Rick. He loved Cece deeply, so he definitely loved the child. But with Rick's current situation, if people found out, Cece and the child would be in danger. The Rick family had many enemies. Many people were waiting to take advantage of his weakness. But Cece seemed to be very happy. She had been very careful since she was pregnant. She even paid attention to her diet. She loved cold food, but she even stopped eating ice cream. She just wanted to take care of the baby in her stomach. Now, all they needed was a wedding. Because of the Rick family's mafia status, they couldn't have a public wedding and invite guests from all over the world. That would be telling everyone that they had a wife and now they had another weakness. He didn't want Cece to expose too much because he was afraid that she would be in danger. So when he found out that Cece was pregnant, Rick thought a lot. In the end, he decided to find an island with beautiful scenery and invite a few friends to celebrate. Rick didn't have many friends. He was only close to Chin Chu and Huamin's family. He had talked to Chin Chu on the phone before and expressed his intention. Chin Chu also agreed with Rick's idea of a low-key wedding. It could give Cece a promise and also ensure her and the child's safety. But Huamin was pregnant and it wasn't easy for her to fly long distances. Plus, Hua Xiqian had been restless recently. So, the two men agreed to discuss the details of the wedding after this matter was resolved. Unfortunately, man proposes but God disposes. Hua Xiqian's big move caught everyone off guard. Rick knew that if Su Yu called him personally, it couldn't be fake news. Moreover, Su Yu and Chin Chu had witnessed Hua Xiqian jumping off the cliff with Huamin in his arms. Rick's mood was very heavy. His personality was similar to Chin Chu's. When he was in a bad mood, he just spoke less than usual. After answering Su Yu's call, Rick took a few of his men and went to Chin Chu's medical school in the United States. He wanted to see if he could solve Chin Chu's problem first. On the other side, Lu Yan and Qiao Fei arrived at Sea City discreetly. Since Lu Yan was an international fugitive, she would change her identity and disguise her face every time she entered the country. At the beginning of June, Sea City was already very hot. People on the streets and alleys were wearing shorts, short-sleeved shirts, and light clothes like sunscreen. Lu Yan wore simple denim shorts with suspenders. Inside, she wore a white short-sleeved shirt with Minnie Mouse on it. Her long hair was tied into a simple ponytail. She wasn't old to begin with, so she was dressed like a high school student. Qiao Fei had to wear denim shorts and a white short-sleeved shirt with Mickey Mouse on it. The couple's couple outfits were extremely attractive. Even at the airport, some fans mistook Lu Yan, who was wearing sunglasses, for a popular Chinese actress. May. We love you. A group of fans surrounded her. Lu Yan was so scared that she almost pulled out a knife. Chapter 2989. What are you doing? Seeing that Lu Yan was about to hit him, Xiao Fei was speechless. He grabbed Lu Yan's hand from behind her waist. Others would think they were a couple showing off their love. Before Lu Yan could say anything, she was drowned out by the enthusiastic shouts of the fans. Xiao Fei had been holding her hand and they finally broke out of the encirclement. You've got the wrong person. She's not a star, Xiao Fei explained. I don't believe you. Yeah. Beauty, take off your glasses and let us see. Your skin is so good. What makeup do you use? Tell us. Your new works are so beautiful. We went to buy tickets for you. I took my boyfriend to see them 3 times. Beauty, can you post more selfies on Weibo for us? Didn't you say you're single? Is the guy in the matching outfit your boyfriend? He's your agent, right? The fans' shouts almost made Lu Yan's head explode. She swore that if they weren't in an airport, she would detonate a bunch of bombs and blow up all these brainless fans. At this moment, a young female star walked out of another VIP passage. Her agent and assistant carried her bag in front and her bodyguards behind her. It was a grand entrance. I think we've got the wrong person. That's the real deal. After a fan said that, a large group of fans immediately left and surrounded her. Flowers, presents, and cheers. It was simply, Lu Yan had been flying around the world since she was a child. To be honest, even a Hollywood superstar wouldn't be like this. Sometimes, people in China were too willing to chase after stars and treat them as important. Lu Yan, on the other hand, was a person who lived on the edge of a knife and never interacted with stars. Because they weren't the same kind of people. Fuck. I almost killed them. Seeing those people leave, Lu Yan finally breathed a sigh of relief. She stuffed a new Louis Vuitton travel bag into Xiao Fei's arms. Do you have to do this? They're just a bunch of kids chasing after stars. Xiao Fei chuckled, finding the scene ridiculous and amusing. The situation was so chaotic at that time. How would I know if there was an assassin who sneaked in to kill me? Well, it's good to be vigilant at all times. But I think the misunderstanding this time is because we're dressed too casually. If you wear your black windbreaker, won't it be fine? Fuck. Are you crazy? These few months, you made me wear a windbreaker on such a hot day. Are you trying to suffocate me to death so that you can inherit my wealth? Xiao Fei, ancestor, you're really thinking too much. What I wanted to say was that most people prefer black, and they don't like to wear short sleeves because they don't want their skin to be exposed, Xiao Fei explained. Lu Yan took out a piece of chewing gum and put it in her mouth. She chewed it and blew bubbles as she replied, that's because they're afraid that they'll be discovered by the enemy if they get hurt. Then, they'll lose more easily. Then why didn't you follow the rules? Xiao Fei looked at Lu Yan in puzzlement. That's because I can't get hurt at all. The people who can hurt me can basically kill me. Even if I wear a down jacket, it's useless. After a few seconds of silence, Xiao Fei replied, you're indeed the most arrogant assassin in history. Wrong. I'm not an assassin. I'm a real mercenary. Lu Yan smiled smugly. Okay. Mercenary Queen, what are we going to do now? Kill people. Throwing out the words, Lu Yan stood up and walked away. Xiao Fei followed her closely. Chapter 2990. Like Lu Yan, Xiao Fei hadn't been to China many times and wasn't familiar with the city. When Lu Yan mentioned killing people, Xiao Fei thought she was just joking. Xiao Fei thought she would visit Qin Chu first. Unfortunately, she didn't. In a narrow and dark alley, Lu Yan stepped on a man's neck. Tell me, what's Xiqian's plan? I really don't know. I'm just an errand boy. How would I know about this? You don't know. Very good. The moment he said that, Lu Yan raised her knife. Heavy weapons weren't allowed at the security checkpoint. Therefore, Lu Yan thought of a way to bring a sharp dagger and set up an anti-interference signal around it. She even fooled the security checkpoint. This dagger had been with Lu Yan for many years. Although it didn't look special, it was made of special materials and could cut through iron like mud. Professor Lu gave it to her for her 12th birthday to protect her. He made it himself. Some special elements were added to it. Apparently, it was made of materials used in aviation, so it was invulnerable. After following Lu Yan for so many years, it had developed a strong bond with her. Whenever it was unsheathed, it would kill, leaving no one alive. Lu Yan was very good at using it. It was very compatible with the dagger. A cold light flashed, and a few seconds later, the man's head drooped and he died. Lu Yan looked at the information on her watch. These were the results of her subordinate's investigation. She knew where these Xiqian remnants were hiding and where their homes were. Lu Yan arrived in Sea City in less than 3 hours. She killed 7 people. She was a professional killer. I'll ask you one more time, do you know or not? I really don't know. Please forgive me. The man trembled in fear. Lu Yan glanced at him coldly and slit his throat with the knife. The man didn't even have a chance to scream. Yan, that's enough. Let's call it a day, Xiao Fei persuaded. What? Are you softening your heart? Lu Yan looked at Xiao Fei. No, I don't want you to be too tired. Pooh. I'm surprised by your answer. I thought you'd say it's too cruel to kill so many people. Lu Yan chuckled. How could that be? As the king of the mercenary world, there are so many assassins who fear you. I wouldn't be surprised even if you killed a whole company. You're a warrior who fought your way out of a pile of corpses. A warrior who escaped from a pile of corpses. This description is very accurate. I like it very much. Lu Yan put away the dagger and stopped killing as Xiao Fei said. Shouldn't we find a place to rest? Xiao Fei felt bad for Lu Yan. She hadn't even rested after getting off the plane and was already working so hard. Don't worry, I'll take you somewhere. After that, the two of them got into the car and left. Sea City's eastern district, inside an inconspicuous bar. Lu Yan led Xiao Fei in and found it was dimly lit and smoky. Lu Yan glanced around and didn't find the person she was looking for, so she went up to the 2nd floor. However, he was stopped at the staircase. Hey, what are you doing? Looking for someone, Lu Yan said. Looking for someone. The person you're looking for isn't upstairs, the man at the door yelled. He was about 1.9 meters tall and had a strong back and waist. I haven't even looked for him yet. How do you know he's not here? Of course, the 2nd floor is my boss's private office. Outsiders aren't allowed in. Go away, little girl, go play somewhere else. The man looked at the girl in a mini t-shirt and denim shorts. She was so young that he guessed she was here to cause trouble. I'm here for your boss, Lu Yan said stubbornly. Chapter 2991. Looking for our boss. The man didn't believe her and repeated his question. Yes. Lu Yan was surprisingly patient, which was rare for her. because she felt that this blockhead was really interesting. Who are you to our boss? The man sized up Lu Yen from head to toe and thought curiously that he had never seen such a woman around his boss. She looked unfamiliar. I'm a very close friend of your boss. Nonsense. I've been with him for more than 2 months. How come I've never seen you? Lu Yen rubbed the tip of her nose, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Little girl, this is not a place where you should be. Quickly take your pretty boy and leave. Little girl. Toy boy. Xiao Fei's face turned green when he heard the word toy boy. He swore that if Lu Yen wasn't here, he would have chopped this blockhead into pieces. TSK. You know what? You just picked up something. Lu Yen told him the secret of the shrine. What did I pick up? The big man was puzzled. You narrowly escaped death. You should be glad you're still alive. What are you talking about? Little girl, let me tell you. This isn't an ordinary bar. If you want a drink, go somewhere else. Don't come here. The big man pushed Lu Yen out impatiently. Before his hand could touch Lu Yen twisted his arm and dislocated it with a crack. The pain was indescribable. It was obvious from the big man's twisted expression. The big man's scream attracted the attention of the other thugs in the bar. They saw the commotion from afar and immediately ran over. Before they could reach Lu Yen, the man upstairs stopped them. Stop, all of you. Big brother. The thugs immediately greeted him respectfully. Hearing the commotion downstairs, Paul immediately came out to check. Seeing the commotion, he had to stop it. He remembered that his boss had told him not to cause trouble in China and to keep a low profile. Therefore, they rarely took the initiative to cause trouble. The bar was dimly lit, so they couldn't see the people downstairs. Paul walked downstairs in a black suit. At first, he looked cold and expressionless. When he saw Lu Yen, he was dumbfounded. Old. Can't you speak properly? Lu Yen asked. Paul dropped to his knees with a thud. That's right, you didn't see it wrong. He was indeed kneeling on both knees to pay his respects. His subordinates were all dumbfounded. Their boss, who had always been cold and mysterious, was actually kneeling down to a little girl who looked like she was only 20 years old. Boss, when did you arrive? Why didn't you inform me? If I told you, would you be able to see such a fun scene today? Lu Yen said. When he heard that even his boss had to call this little girl boss, the blockhead was completely dumbfounded. Big brother, who is she? The blockhead asked curiously as Lu Yen twisted his arm. How dare you? Are you asking about the boss's identity? After saying that, Paul took out his gun and aimed it at the blockhead. It's your subordinate's fault. Kill him immediately as an apology to the boss. No need, I've killed enough today. I want to take a break. Then Lu Yen pushed the blockhead hard, and he fell to the ground with a thud. Boss, quick, please come upstairs. Kneeling on the ground, Paul said respectfully. Seeing Xiao Fei beside Lu Yen, Paul was surprised. Third young master, you're here too. Chapter 2992. Xiao Fei nodded slightly and followed Lu Yen up the stairs. Paul didn't dare to stand up until the two bosses went upstairs. Boss, who is that girl? Why are you so afraid of her? One of his subordinates asked unwillingly. You better watch your tongue. If you dare to offend her again, I'll kill you. Paul glared at the man. His subordinates were so scared that they didn't dare to say anything. They knew how cruel Paul was. I'll only say it once. Remember, she's our god. Then, Paul turned around and went upstairs, leaving his subordinates dumbfounded. Paul was sent by Lu Yan to protect Huamin. He was a team under Lu Yan. Opening the bar was just a cover, the real purpose was to protect Huamin and his family. Some of the secret guards were sent out to protect Qin Chu at the hospital. Some were sent to investigate Huamin, and some were sent to track down Huo Ziqian's remaining members. So, Paul was the only one left in charge. Those who didn't recognize Huamian were all small fries and weren't worth mentioning. It was this team that called Lu Yan's watch and begged for death. Lu Yan's arrival made them tremble in fear. Because they failed to protect Huamin, Huamin fell off the cliff. They had been with Lu Yan for many years and knew how angry she was. After entering Paul's office, Lu Yan sat in her chair. Lu Yan sat down in the executive chair, leaned back heavily, and closed her eyes. Qiao Fei pulled a book off the shelf and sat on the sofa, reading it calmly without saying a word. The atmosphere was very strange. After Paul came in, he knelt down and apologized. "Boss, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I couldn't protect Miss Hua." Lu Yan didn't say a word. "Boss, you should punish me. They really did their best. I was careless. I thought that with Qin Chu and Su Yu, Miss Hua would be fine. So, we were still a distance away from her and didn't have time to save her." Lu Yan still didn't say anything. "Boss, I hope that my death will appease your anger." With that, Paul took out a pistol and pointed it at his own head. He gently pulled the trigger. Qiao Fei was puzzled, wondering why Lu Yan didn't react at all. He looked up at Lu Yan. Lu Yan was as calm as ever. Her eyes were closed as if she had fallen asleep. Finally, Paul seemed to have made up his mind and ruthlessly hooked him. Unfortunately, there was no gunshot. Surprised, he looked up at his gun and then at Lu Yan, who was standing not far away from him. Only then did Lu Yan slowly open her eyes. She had a few bullets in her hand. "Are you looking for this?" Lu Yan asked. Paul was speechless. He had been kneeling when Lu Yan walked past him and went upstairs in just a few seconds. She finally stole his bullets, but he didn't even know. The boss's skills were indeed terrifying. If she really wanted to kill him, she wouldn't have waited until now, right? "Boss, Paul hesitated. "My subordinates aren't cowards who only know how to seek death. I'm sorry, boss." "I'm sorry to Miss Hua. Who said my sister must be dead?" Lu Yan rolled her eyes at him. "Boss, do you know where Miss Hua is? Is there a chance?" Paul was pleasantly surprised. "I don't know if there's a chance, but I need you to find someone for me as soon as possible," Lu Yan ordered. "Who?" Paul was puzzled. Chapter 2993. Yan Ruoshi. "Do you know her?" Lu Yan asked slowly as she played with the globe on her desk. "Yan Ruoshi. Is she Mayor Yan's daughter?" "Yes." "Okay, boss. I'll go get her now." "Is half an hour enough?" Lu Yan glanced at her watch and asked. "Yes." Then, Paul left like a gust of wind. He didn't even have time to say goodbye to Lu Yan. "Are you sure half an hour is enough? Don't you always get stuck in traffic in China?" Qiao Fei put down the book and asked Lu Yan. "Stuck in traffic? That's their problem. I'm only responsible for giving orders." Lu Yan's unreasonableness was second to none in the world. Her point of view was, whatever task I give you, just do it. Don't tell me you can't finish it. She wouldn't listen to any of your explanations. Even if there was a traffic jam, you had to find a way to get her back. It was that simple. Okay. You win. Qiao Fei was speechless again. Paul left less than 3 minutes ago. Someone knocked on the door. "Come in." The blockhead whose arm was dislocated walked in, trembling. He held a tray in his hand. On it was an exquisite fruit platter and 2 cups of coffee. Boss. No, Mr. Paul told me to take good care of you. If you need anything, just tell me. After witnessing Lu Yan's power, the blockhead didn't dare to be fierce anymore. When he saw Lu Yan, he was like a mouse that saw a cat. You look dumb, but you're quite attentive, boss. You flatter me. The blockhead was scared. Bring me the fruit platter. I'm really hungry. Lu Yan beckoned with her finger. The blockhead immediately walked over and put down the fruit platter and coffee. Then, he placed a cup in front of Xiao Fei. Lu Yan picked up a piece of watermelon and put it in her mouth. Suddenly, she said, I want to eat scallion pancakes. Huh? The blockhead was puzzled. When I was in Chinatown, would eat some local snacks. I like scallion pancakes and rigiamo. Can you buy some for me? Lu Yan's tone was like a spoiled child, making the blockhead uncomfortable. Sure. Boss. Wait a moment. I'll be back soon. With that, the burly man rushed out like a gust of wind. After the big man left, Xiao Fei smiled and picked up his coffee. Look at how scared you are. Am I that scary? What do you think? Xiao Fei asked. Then why aren't you afraid of me? Lu Yan asked. Because I'm scarier than you are, Xiao Fei replied shamelessly. Psycho Xiao, do you know what I like most about you? What? I like how shameless you are. Lu Yan lowered her head and continued eating the watermelon. In less than 10 minutes, the burly man rushed out of the store and bought scallion pancakes and rigiamo. He also bought stinky tofu and potato powder. This was because he guessed that the boss of this boss liked street food. I remember. I only said I wanted rigiamo and scallion pancakes, right? Lu Yan looked at the food and asked. The burly man was shocked and knelt down with a thud. I'm sorry, boss, I'll take the extra ones away right away. Don't. I mean, you bought 2 extra ones for me. They're all my favorites. Good job. Lu Yan said with a smile. The burly man was dumbfounded again. He almost peed himself just now because Boss Paul told him to treat her well. He had to serve this great aunt well. If he wasn't careful, he might lose his head. It wasn't a bluff, it was true. Lu Yan was famous in the mercenary world for being a murderous maniac. She never felt guilty about killing people. Because that was what she was supposed to do, she held the record for the most kills in the mercenary world. Once, she fought with a group of drug lords in Mexico. Lu Yan killed 57 people. She used knives, guns, and even grenades. The scene was quite explosive. You seem to be afraid of me. Lu Yan took a bite of the scallion pancake and looked up at the blockhead with a smile. Her smile scared the hell out of him. Chapter 2994. No, the big guy stammered. So you're not afraid of me? Am I that weak? Lu Yan pursed her lips. No. Lu Yan's clever little brain spun the big guy in circles, making him feel what it was like to be in a life-and-death situation. Talking to Lu Yan was like talking to the Grim Reaper. His head could fall to the ground at any moment. Okay, Yan. Are you done? Xiao Fei couldn't stand it anymore. Yes, Psycho Xiao. Do you want a bite? It's delicious. Lu Yan waved the scallion pancake in her hand. No. I'm not interested. Humph. You don't know how to enjoy life. The big guy looked at Lu Yan and asked meekly, "Boss is boss. If there's nothing else, can I go out now?" "Sure." Hearing Lu Yan's words, the big guy immediately ran out of the room, not daring to look back. Look at how scared he is. Xiao Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After all, Lu Yan was still young. When she was playful, she was like an unreasonable child, which made people feel awkward and at a loss for what to do. "I'd love to." As soon as Lu Yan said that, Paul came back, covered in dust. Behind him was Yan Ruoshi, whose mouth was sealed with tape. Paul's intelligence was accurate. When he drove out, he had ordered his men to track her down. When he learned that Yan Ruoshi was at the socialite ball, he immediately went to kidnap her. When Yan Ruoshi saw Lu Yan, she didn't know who these people were. She kept moaning and didn't know what to say. "Boss, she's here." Paul stood on the side respectfully. 27 minutes. "Okay." Lu Yan glanced at her watch and found Paul had arrived just in time. She stood up and walked up to Yan Ruoshi. Then, she tore off the tape on her mouth. Yan Ruoshi frowned slightly in pain. Her mouth was red and swollen. "Who are you? Do you know who I am?" Yan Ruoshi was arrogant. "Not only do we know who you are, we also know who your father is." Lu Yan chuckled. Yan Ruoshi was slightly startled at first, then glanced at her. "Since you know, why don't you let me go? If my father finds out, you'll be dead." Hee hee. "Do you really need to show off your father's small rank? I even beat up the president's girl." "You." Yan Ruoshi suddenly realized that the girl in front of her had a certain charm that she had seen before. For a moment, she couldn't remember who she looked like. "Woman, I don't like to talk nonsense. Let's get straight to the point. From now on, you have to answer every question I ask you. Otherwise, I might add something to your story." Then, Paul moved a chair behind Lu Yan and she sat down. Lu Yan was playing with some throwing knives in her hands. She lowered her head and kept a distance of 5 meters from Yan Ruoshi. Lu Yan looked at Yan Ruoshi and asked, "Do you know about Hua Xiqian's plan?" "What Hua Xiqian? What plan?" Yan Ruoshi played dumb. The moment she said that, Lu Yan threw out a throwing knife and nailed it into Yan Ruoshi's shoulder. "Ah!" Yan Ruoshi yelled in pain. She had never imagined that the 20-year-old girl in front of her could be so cruel. "Who are you? Why are you doing this to me?" Yan Ruoshi didn't dare to be arrogant anymore and burst into tears. Chapter 2995. Second question, is Hua Xiqian really dead? "I don't know. I really don't know. He won't tell me anything." Yan Ruoshi shook her head in tears. With a swoosh, Lu Yan's throwing knife pierced into her left calf. Yan Ruoshi was driven crazy by the pain. "Please, don't kill me. How much money do you want?" "My daddy has it." Yan Ruoshi usually looked feisty, but she had princess syndrome. She always talked about money as if her family was the richest in the world. "Money? No, I'm not interested in it at all. I've done more business than your daddy in his lifetime. I advise you to tell the truth." "I really don't know." Yan Ruoshi broke down and cried. Third question. When did Hua Xiqian start planning this plan? Lu Yan asked. Yan Ruoshi didn't dare to say she didn't know anymore because she saw the throwing knife in Lu Yan's hand was ready to strike. If this went on, sooner or later, she would have many bloody holes in her body. If she told the truth, she might be able to survive. So this time, Yan Ruoshi learned her lesson. Hua Xiqian's plan must have been planned for many years. But the real execution started from our fake wedding. Good. You finally said something useful. Lu Yan nodded in satisfaction and glanced at Yen Ruoshi. Continue. I'll tell you everything I know. Please don't kill me, okay? Yen Ruoshi cried and begged for mercy. Tell me first. Lu Yan's voice was soft, but anyone who heard it would be scared. I've been working for Hua Xiqian for many years, but he didn't let me know many things. I really don't know much. I only know that Hua Xiqian really likes Hua Min. He likes Hua Min so much that he wants to get Hua Min to stay by his side. He must have a big plan, but I really don't know what it is. He said that marrying me was just a cover. I thought he would do it on the wedding day, but he didn't. Later, I moved to my own house and lived separately from him. He didn't look for me. I think he must be busy with his plan. Later, after Hua Xiqian's accident, one of his former subordinates sold the information to me for 200,000 yuan. He said he died and jumped off a cliff with Hua Min in his arms. That's all I know. Hearing this, Lu Yan was silent. Oh, I know that he has a split personality. Split personality. Lu Yan looked up. Yeah. He has a split personality and has been taking a psychotropic drug for a long time. If he forgets to take it and is stimulated, he'll turn into another person. It's very scary. Do you believe that Hua Xiqian jumped off a cliff and died? Lu Yan asked Yen Ruoshi. To be honest, it's hard to say. It's possible. One is that he's very cunning and it might just be a plan. Another is that he split into another personality. Then, anything is possible. After all, that personality is very extreme. I see. Lu Yan didn't seem surprised at all. I think if you want to know more, you can go and catch Qing. He's Hua Xiqian's most trusted subordinate, Yen Ruoshi said. I don't need you to teach me that. Lu Yan rolled her eyes at this woman. Boss, what should we do now? Let her go, Lu Yan ordered Paul. Won't she cause trouble for us if we let her go? Paul looked like he wanted to kill her. Does she dare? Lu Yan smiled contemptuously. Then, she stood up and walked out. Psycho Qiao, let's go. Boss, I've prepared a place for you to stay. No. I have more important things to do now. Then, Lu Yan went downstairs in a dashing manner. Chapter 2996. Qiao Fei's personality was the complete opposite of Lu Yan's. He was a man of few words and would do whatever you said. He could even help you at a critical moment. Lu Yan was used to being alone. Now that Qiao Fei was with her, she was used to following him around like a shadow. Before they left, Qiao Fei knew it would be cold outside, so he went into a branded clothing store and bought a black suit for Lu Yan without saying a word. When Lu Yan turned around, he put the suit on her. Damn! You're so fast. It was hard to imagine that someone could buy a suit worth tens of thousands of yuan in less than 2 minutes. Only Qiao Fei could do this. It's cold here at night, Qiao Fei said. I'm not even afraid of death. Why would I be afraid of catching a cold? Lu Yan chuckled. You're not afraid, but I am. Then, Qiao Fei walked forward without a change in his expression, ignoring Lu Yan. But hearing his words, Lu Yan felt warm in her heart. For so many years, other than her dad and sister, Qiao Fei was the only person who treated her the best. Although her dad and sister were her closest relatives, they spent very little time with her. On the other hand, Psycho Qiao had been with her since they eloped in Russia. Although nothing had happened between them, they had grown attached to each other after spending so much time together. Lu Yan and Qiao Fei were both decisive people. So, they left the bar and went to South Side. Paul, that fellow, was very sensible. He had prepared a supercar for his master. So, in less than 15 minutes, Lu Yan arrived at the military hospital. The military hospital had strict security. Usually, when people came to see Qin Chu, they were let in by Su Yu. But Lu Yan didn't, but this wasn't a problem for her. The girl took almost 50 seconds to get through the military hospital surveillance system. Then, he swaggered into the building under the surveillance cameras. But the ward area upstairs was a bit troublesome because Su Yu had sent bodyguards to guard it 24/7. So, are we going to fight again? Xiao Fei stood behind Lu Yan and glanced at the 4 bodyguards at the door. Fight? Oh, no, I never do such a rude thing. Stop pretending. You really don't fight. You've always killed people. Xiao Fei exposed Lu Yan's lie. Ha, Psycho Xiao, can you not be so blunt? Save me some face. So are you going to do it, or should I? I already said that we don't need to do anything. You're not going to use explosives again, are you? This is a military hospital. You'd better be careful, Xiao Fei advised. He knew Lu Yan was a woman who would use explosives without warning. Therefore, he was really worried that she would find it troublesome and directly use small explosives. No need. Watch me. Then, Lu Yan took off her suit and strutted over. In the past, she had sprayed something on herself. It smelled very good, even stronger than perfume. Stop. Oh, I'm here to see my friend. What's your friend's surname? The bodyguard asked with a dark expression. His last name is Zhang, no, Zhao, right? Lu Yan made up a story. He's not the person you're looking for. There's only one patient on this floor. This is a restricted area and no one is allowed to enter. Oh, he's a military leader. Lu Yan gossiped. Don't ask too much. It won't do you any good. Little girl, let's go, the bodyguard urged. Okay. Goodbye. Lu Yan waved her hand with a smile. As soon as she finished speaking, the 4 bodyguards fell to the ground. Chapter 2997. Done. Lu Yan clapped her hands. Xiao Fei was no longer curious about Lu Yan's eccentricities. He didn't know where she got all kinds of poisons, drugs, and bombs. He heard that a drug manufacturing base once offered Lu Yan 10 billion yuan to join them. They wanted her to be a master pharmacist, but she refused. She said that a girl who didn't want to be a top mercenary wasn't a girl with dreams. Later, when those people failed to recruit her, they felt humiliated and began to hunt her down. Lu Yan played a cat-and-mouse game with them for half a year. In the end, she ran to their headquarters impatiently and blew them up like a ticking time bomb. From then on, not many people dared to mess with Lu Yan. Because of the professor's relationship, the United States federal government turned a blind eye to this matter and did not thoroughly investigate it. Other than Ian and the other aliens, Lu Yan was the queen of this world. After knocking out the 4 bodyguards with her homemade drugs, Lu Yan asked Xiao Fei to drag them to the hospital warehouse across the street. The 2 of them entered Qin Chu's intensive care unit and locked the door. Lu Yan slowly approached the man on the bed. She had mixed feelings. After all, he was the man her sister loved deeply. He was also Xiao Fei's benefactor who once performed surgery on him in Russia. Brother-in-law's condition makes me sad. Maybe he cares about Sister Mian too much. Lu Yan sat on the chair and turned on the Bluetooth on her watch. She cracked the password and connected to the hospital's database. Then, she easily pulled up Qin Chu's diagnosis data from the hospital's database. After reading it, Lu Yan fell silent. What's wrong? Qiao Fei saw something wrong with her. Psycho Qiao, we're in trouble. Since you're talking about trouble, it seems like it's a difficult thing to deal with, Qiao Fei said. My brother-in-law's condition is manageable. The toxins in his body are hard to remove. He made his own medicine and he's unconscious. No one knows the ingredients. I don't have much talent in medicine, unlike my sister. She inherited my mother's genes, so she's much better than me. But now she's in trouble. Lu Yan analyzed the current situation. So what should we do now? Should we help brother-in-law wake up first, or should we look for sister's whereabouts? Qiao Fei asked. Let brother-in-law wake up first, because his life will be in danger if this drags on. Are you going to take him away? Qiao Fei knew from Lu Yan's tone that there was no cure for Qin Chu in China. Therefore, they guessed that Lu Yan would take Qin Chu away without anyone noticing. No, brother-in-law can't take it anymore. I'll ask my father to come over. Professor. Qiao Fei was surprised. Other than him, I don't think anyone else can cure brother-in-law. Lu Yan said with certainty. But can the professor come out? Qiao Fei had always known the professor's situation, so he was still a little uncertain. Of course, I will find a way. At this time, the doctor and nurse came to check on the ward. He found it strange that he didn't see any bodyguards at the door. When he opened the door of the ward, he found that it was locked from the inside. It was even more strange. Who's inside? Asked the doctor outside. Lu Yan pulled Qiao Fei open the window and jumped down from the building. Then used the rope to leave. When the doctor came in, he found the window was open and there were signs that someone had come in. He was terrified. Immediately, he called Su Yu. When Su Yu picked up the phone, he was having dinner with the twins. What's up? Young Master Su, bad news. A stranger broke into Mr. Qin's room, and your bodyguards are missing. What did you say? Furious, Su Yu stood up with a whoosh. Chapter 2998. Su Yu couldn't sit still when he received a call from the hospital. Pudding, you guys eat first. I'm going out to do something. Su Yu left the house in a hurry after a few bites. After Pudding and the others finished eating, they went back to their room to play. Maybe because they missed their mother, the two kids weren't in the mood to play, just like before. Lady Su gave them a lot of fruits, but they weren't in the mood to eat. Sis, yeah. Pudding turned to look at her. I miss Mommy so much. Pudding didn't say anything. Sis, why hasn't Mommy come back yet? Daddy hasn't called us or come to see us. Pudding, who was in the dark, was a little depressed. As the older sister, Pudding was more sensible and took on more responsibilities. She reached out her chubby little hand and patted her sister's head. Good girl, Mommy, we'll come back. Daddy will find her for sure. But I'm not sure. We've been here for a few days. Daddy hasn't come to pick us up, which means Mommy hasn't been found yet. Hua Xiqian is a big bad guy. He's always thinking about Mommy. Will he take Mommy somewhere far away and not let her come back? Pudding bit her lip as tears welled up in her eyes. No. How can Hua Xiqian be better than Daddy? Don't be silly. We have to believe in him. Okay. I'll go take a shower first. When I come out, I'll have a video call with Gao Buiyuan. Then, Pudding took her nightgown and walked into the bathroom. The Su family's housekeeper had prepared warm water for her. After Pudding went in, the housekeeper followed her in to help her wash up. Pudding stood alone in front of the window and looked into the distance, feeling very bad. Su Yu had been leaving early and coming home late recently, so Pudding didn't know what to ask. Last time at the hospital, Pudding also heard what Professor Luo said. The chances of Daddy waking up were very, very low. If Daddy didn't wake up, no one would go to find Mommy. Suyu's power alone was next to nothing. It wasn't that she didn't trust Suyu, but she wasn't sure. The two people who were the closest to each other, the most loved ones, ended up like this. She and Little Bean were fostered by the Su family. Although the Su family treated the sisters very well, the children still felt burdened in their hearts. No matter how good this place was, it wasn't home. Mommy. Daddy, I beg you, please come back quickly. Little Bean and I can't hold on any longer. We really, really miss you guys, Pudding said, choking with sobs. When Suyu went to the hospital, Lu Yan and Xiao Fei had already left without leaving a trace. Even the unconscious bodyguard couldn't remember what the girl who had drugged him looked like after waking up. When Suyu went to check the surveillance video, he was surprised to find that the video had been erased, and he couldn't find any clues. Have you checked? Is there anything wrong with Chin Chu? Suyu looked at the doctor worriedly. No, young Master Su, don't worry. Mr. Chin's condition is normal. Maybe those people weren't in a hurry to make a move. That's amazing. They were able to infiltrate the military's defense system without anyone noticing. Then, they were able to drug my bodyguard. From the looks of it, they were prepared. We have to be extra careful, the doctor said. Did you find out what drug was used to drug my bodyguard? Suyu also wanted to know who the culprit was. Chapter 2999. Not yet. I just did a preliminary analysis. I've never seen or heard of this kind of composition before. The doctor answered shamefully. Suyu put his hand on his forehead, feeling very troubled. Chin Chu's condition and Huomin's lack of news were already torturous enough. Now, someone was trying to hit on Chin Chu. It was simply, at the Su family mansion after showering, the twins were listening to music and reading in bed. They were very obedient. Little Bean was video chatting with Gao Buiyuan, but she fell asleep in the middle of the conversation. Pudding turned off the video chat. Pudding turned off Little Bean's cell phone and was about to go to the bathroom. She didn't even notice that the window had been opened. Pudding. A very soft voice startled Pudding. Do you still remember me? Lu Yan sat on the windowsill and smiled coolly. Auntie, Pudding's memory was amazing, so she immediately remembered Lu Yan when she saw her. Mommy said she was very close to her auntie. Many of her and her sister's expensive jewelry were bought by her auntie. Good girl, come and hug me. Lu Yan opened her arms, and Pudding rushed over and hugged Lu Yan tightly. Strangely, she spent very little time with Lu Yan. She couldn't compare with Qin Ning, let alone Jiang Xiaowei and Zhu Lingling. However, when she saw Lu Yan, she felt an inexplicable closeness to her as if she had known her for a long time. Auntie. Pudding's voice trembled when she called Lu Yan's name. Lu Yan lifted the child's chin and saw she was crying. Why are you crying? Are you not happy to see me? No, I'm happy to see you. Are you crying tears of joy? Lu Yan chuckled. Auntie, do you know, you have a very special smell. It's very similar to my mommy's, Pudding said slowly. To be honest, Pudding's words hurt Lu Yan's heart. Pudding, I know what happened to your mommy. Auntie came back this time because of this. Auntie, Mommy said, you're very, very good. Really? Did your mommy say that about me? Pudding nodded vigorously. Mommy said that Auntie is very outstanding. You can do anything. Nothing can stop you. Yes, so. Auntie said that she would definitely help you find your mommy and save your daddy. Do you believe her? I do. Pudding nodded happily. Where's Little Bean? Why did she fall asleep so early? Lu Yan jumped off the windowsill with Little Bean in her arms and landed without making a sound. It was obvious that he was skilled. Yeah, she's been in a bad mood for the past 2 days. Maybe she misses mommy and daddy a lot. I've been keeping it from her, so she doesn't know the details. Good job. You're good at taking care of your sister. Lu Yan gave Pudding a thumbs up. Lu Yan walked up to Little Bean, lowered her head, and gently kissed her forehead. My little piggy, looks exactly like your elder sister. 2 little cuties. To be honest, Lu Yan's feelings for Huamin and the twins were deeper than anyone could imagine. The Su family's defense was very strong, but Lu Yan still broke through it. Xiao Fei was waiting outside and didn't come in. Because of her special status, she couldn't talk to Su Yu directly and could only see the kids in private. Pudding, Auntie has good news for you. What good news? Do you want to see your grandpa? Lu Yan asked. Grandpa? Pudding suddenly remembered the old man she saw in the U.S. Mommy told her that he was her grandpa. It was amazing. Didn't this grandma's husband die? Mommy didn't say much, so Pudding didn't dare to ask. Yes. Then let's call him and ask him to come back and save your daddy, okay? Lu Yan pointed at the smart watch on her wrist and looked at Pudding lovingly. Chapter 3000. Okay. Pudding didn't know how capable her grandpa was, but her auntie must have her reasons for saying so. Then, Lu Yan pressed the button on her watch. She heard the beeping sound of a phone call. Pudding was a little nervous. What's up? The professor's image appeared in front of her watch. He was wearing a white lab coat and a mask. Obviously, he was in a lab. Dad, look who this is. Lu Yan pointed the camera at Pudding's small body. The moment the professor saw the little girl, his sharp eyes softened. Is this Pudding or Little Bean? The professor asked lovingly. Pudding, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and greet him. Lu Yan nudged Pudding's arm and reminded her. The little girl called out sweetly, Grandpa. Hey, good. This is Pudding. She looks exactly like Little Bean. The professor had a bunch of photos of the children. He missed his granddaughter so much that he couldn't put into words. Once upon a time, he had always wanted to complete this plan as soon as possible. Then, he would come back early to see Huamian and the children. Grandpa, we're different. Little Bean is fatter than me. Pudding said. Ha ha ha, good. Grandpa will remember this. The fatter one is Little Bean and the thinner one is Pudding. The professor laughed. Dad, this is Little Bean. Then, Lu Yan pointed the camera at Little Bean who was sleeping like a little pig. Oh. She fell asleep. Yeah. Dad, aren't you curious why I came back? Lu Yan suddenly asked. Why did you go back? Ian hasn't dealt with you yet. You should be careful. The professor didn't want Lu Yan to come back. He didn't want Lu Yan to be with her sister because he didn't want to drag Huamin down with her. He didn't want to disrupt their normal lives. Dad, something happened here. My sister was dragged off a cliff and we don't know if she's dead or alive. My sister's husband was so shocked by what happened that he vomited blood and fainted. What did you say? The professor was shocked. Dad, I'm telling you the truth. Time is precious, and to prevent that despicable Ian from tracking my phone signal, I'll make it short. I'm sending Chin Chu's medical record to your email. You'll understand once you read it. Okay. After that, the professor was about to hang up the phone. Lu Yan dragged Pudding to the camera again. Wait, Dad. Pudding has something to say to you. Normal kids would be dumbfounded by Lu Yan's impromptu act. But Pudding wasn't an ordinary child. She was a child prodigy who had inherited the powerful genes of her parents. Pudding looked at the professor with her big watery eyes and said word by word, "Grandpa, I beg you, please come back and save Daddy. We can't lose him. If Daddy is alive, he can help us find Mommy. Little Bean and I don't want to become wild children without parents." The professor almost burst into tears when he heard that. Her heart was as sad as it could be, especially when she looked at the innocent eyes of the child. "Don't worry, child. Leave it to me." The professor could not stand his granddaughter's pitiful look. Hearing the professor's words, Lu Yan immediately said, "Dad, you agreed? Then you should arrange for him to return as soon as possible. Brother-in-law's condition is very serious. That's all." Then, without giving the professor a chance to speak, Lu Yan hung up the phone. Then, Lu Yan looked at Pudding and smirked. "Not bad, girl. You reacted quickly. Auntie. Grandpa, can you really save Daddy?" Pudding asked seriously. Chapter 3001. Of course. I'm not bragging, but your grandpa's medical skills are unparalleled in the world. There's no one he can't save. Then, Lu Yan added in a low voice, "Except for your grandma." "What did you say, Auntie?" Pudding didn't hear her clearly. "Oh, nothing. I said, since your grandpa promised you, he'll be back soon. With him here, don't worry." "That's great, Auntie." Pudding held Lu Yan's hand excitedly. At this moment, Lady Sue's voice came from outside the door. "Pudding, are you asleep?" "Grandma Sue, what's up?" Pudding immediately replied. "I made you a bowl of pear soup with rock sugar. You've been coughing lately." "Okay. I'll open the door for you right away." Hearing Pudding's words, Lu Yan reached out to touch her face. "Go ahead. I'll leave now." "Auntie, when will you come back?" I'm not sure." "Auntie, can you come and see me often? I'm happy to see you when Mommy isn't here." Pudding held Lu Yan's hand reluctantly. "Okay. I promise I'll come and see you and Little Bean again. Don't tell anyone about what happened today, including Grandpa. Got it?" "Okay. I got it. Good girl. I'll leave now. Close the window." Then Pudding saw Lu Yan jump onto the windowsill and jump down from the building without hesitation. Although it wasn't very high, was it okay for her to do that? It was like a stunt in a movie. If Little Bean saw it, she would think it was Spider-Man. After Lu Yan left, Pudding went to open the door for Lady Sue. After Su Yu finished his treatment at the hospital, he received a call from Gao Ran before he went home. Then he went directly to the Municipal Public Security Bureau. Ever since Qin Chu and his wife's accident, Gao Ran hadn't had a good night's sleep. He had been in charge of the Municipal Public Security Bureau. "Chief, Mr. Su is here." The policeman brought Su Yu to Gao Ran's office. "Lord Su, I heard that something happened at the hospital." Gao Ran asked. "Yeah. Someone snuck into Qin Chu's room and drugged my bodyguard without anyone noticing. So powerful. Who has such great ability?" Gao Ran was also curious. "What's the situation on your side?" Su Yu looked at Gao Ran. "Oh, right. I want to ask you something. Did you torture and kill Hua Min's subordinates because you wanted to interrogate Hua Xiqian about his whereabouts?" "Torture?" Su Yu was a little confused. Gao Ran took out some photos of the victims. They were all bloody and threw them directly on the table. "Look at these." Su Yu picked it up and looked at it. He frowned slightly. I didn't do this. I don't think it's you either because it's very cruel. They all slit the throat. That is to say, in addition to us, someone else is catching Huasiqian subordinates and has killed 7 people in a row in one day. When did this happen? Suyu was shocked. It happened tonight. The last victim died less than 5 hours ago. Could it be, it has something to do with the person who snuck into Qin Chu's ward? Suyu pondered. Now we don't know the identity of the other party and what their purpose is. It seems that we have to be more careful. Gao Ran said. Gao Ran, can you contact Qing? You're looking for him. Yes. There must be a reason why Qin Chu trusts him so much. I want to see him and ask him about some details. So you didn't want to let go of any information about Huamin. I'll try. After the incident, that kid went into hiding. However, Qin Chu has arranged a place for his child to recuperate, so I should be able to find him. Suyu nodded and turned to leave. Gao Ran asked behind him, Lord Su, have you thought about what you would do if Huamin really died? Chapter 3002. To be honest, I don't believe Huamin is dead. Then, Suyu turned around and left. Gao Ran admired Suyu's obsession with Huamin. It was almost as strong as Qin Chu. Thinking of Qin Chu, who was still in the ICU, Gao Ran felt bad. After leaving the Su family, Lu Yan and Qiao Fei walked back. When they passed by a night market pedestrian street, they directly stopped the supercar at the side. Psycho Qiao, are you hungry? ? Qiao Fei looked at her, confused. Do you want to have a midnight snack with me? Lu Yan smiled. You're still in the mood for a midnight snack. It seems there's progress. Qiao Fei knew Lu Yan well. Smart. You can't figure out what's going on. Is the professor coming back? Qiao Fei asked slowly. Fuck. Did you eavesdrop on my phone call? Lu Yan was anxious. I'm sorry. I was standing guard upstairs and was thousands of miles away from you. How could I hear your phone call? How did you guess so accurately? I know you well. Qiao Fei looked calm. You're almost as good as the worm in my stomach. You actually guessed it. It's not hard to guess. The only person who can save Qin Chu is the professor. Qiao Fei sighed. It's my fault for not being a good student. I was only interested in explosives. If only I was like my sister and had the talent to save people. Unfortunately, I've only been able to kill people since I was young. I can't save people, okay? Aren't you hungry? Do you want to go? Qiao Fei opened the car door. Qiao Fei and Lu Yan sat at a roadside stall. There were all kinds of Xinjiang meat skewers, fried chicken legs, and grilled squid. Lu Yan had always loved food. Since she was back in China, she ate until she was full before leaving. Paul had prepared an exquisitely decorated mansion for Lu Yan and Qiao Fei. Both of them were exhausted. As soon as Lu Yan came back, she did a lot of big things. He had killed so many of Huasiqian's men and kidnapped Yan Ruoshi. None of them were not earth-shattering. Qiao Fei knew that Lu Yan suffered the most when Huamin got into trouble. She always felt guilty that she didn't meticulously arrange more people to come over. Otherwise, her sister wouldn't have encountered such a calamity. Lying on the big, soft bed, Lu Yan still couldn't fall asleep. Sis. I'll find you. I won't give up, Lu Yan said. The next morning Lu Yan got up early and had a quick bite with Qiao Fei before driving out. They sped all the way to the top of Yuewang Mountain. Today, Lu Yan was wearing a navy blue mid-length trench coat with her long hair hanging loose. At the top of the mountain, Lu Yan squatted down to check a few spots. According to those people's testimonies, this is where my sister was killed. I think. Lu Yen said. Yes, but it's really high up here. If Sister Mian falls from this height, her chances of survival are slim, Xiao Fei analyzed. Bah, don't jinx it. I'm not jinxing it. I'm just stating the truth. You have a lot of combat experience. Tell me, am I right? Of course I'll check it myself. I won't believe anyone's words. Lu Yen stood at the edge of the cliff at the top of the mountain and looked down at the churning sea. About 5 seconds later, she leaped into the air. Yen. Xiao Fei's heart almost jumped out of his chest. Lu Yen had jumped off the cliff without warning. Even if he wanted to stop her, it was too late. Xiao Fei watched as Lu Yen jumped down without hesitation. Chapter 3003. Xiao Fei almost jumped down with her. However, when he reached the edge of the cliff, he looked down and saw Lu Yen had used a zipline to hang herself in the air. Then, she slid down the zipline bit by bit and checked down. Lu Yen. Little bastard, just you wait. Xiao Fei was relieved when he saw that she was fine. Then, he remembered that the cold and taciturn Psycho Xiao had cursed for the first time. It was also the first time he called Lu Yen a little bastard. Lu Yen looked up at Xiao Fei, whose face was pale with fright, with a smile. Hee hee. Little bastard, who are you cursing? Of course I'm cursing you, you damned girl. Xiao Fei really wanted to strangle Lu Yen. Yes, you're cursing me, you little bastard. Xiao Fei, at a time like this, she was still in the mood to play word games with him and take advantage of him. Only Lu Yen would do something like this. Then, Lu Yen carefully looked down at the rocks on the edge of the cliff. She wanted to see if there was a place to hide. Did Hua Xiqin do something when he jumped down with Wamin? But she found nothing. Well, if there was really something strange, Siyu would have found it long ago and wouldn't have waited for her to show up. Until she reached the surface of the sea, Lu Yen stopped and paused for 5 seconds. Then, she jumped into the sea with a splash. If he didn't know that she was a good swimmer, Xiao Fei would probably be worried sick again. A few minutes later, Lu Yen climbed up along the rope and got up in no time. Xiao Fei hurriedly pulled Lu Yen, who was dripping wet, onto the bed. Psycho Xiao. Before Lu Yen could speak, Xiao Fei held her tightly in his arms. She almost couldn't breathe. Ahem. Damn you. Let go of me. Are you trying to kill me? Lu Yen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the future, if you do something risky like this again, do you dare to tell me in advance? Xiao Fei was so scared that his heart was about to jump out of his chest. He thought that Lu Yen had taken things too hard and jumped down to commit suicide. But after 10 seconds, he immediately lowered his head to check. With Lu Yan's ability, it wouldn't be hard for her to do this. Don't you know me best? How could such a small matter stump me? Oh right, I just made a discovery. What did you find? Xiao Fei let go of Lu Yen slowly. Hua Xiqin is really smart. There aren't any marks on the surface of the cliff, all the way to the surface of the sea, but there's something at the bottom of the sea. Seabed. Lu Yen nodded. There's an area less than 3 square meters below. The sea is very deep, like a whirlpool. But it doesn't look like a natural cave, it looks more like a man-made one. I went down the cave and found a cave inside. Not only is it big enough for 2 or 3 people, but there are other exits as well, Lu Yen said with a smile. Xiao Fei immediately understood. I see. Hua Xiqin sure is smart. Does that mean Sister Mian is fine? Of course. My sister is very lucky. I'm sure she'll be fine. Lu Yan had long suspected that it was Hua Xiqian's doing, but after confirming it herself, she was even happier. The question is, how did Hua Xiqian take Sister Mian away? Where did they go? Xiao Fei asked. That's what worries me the most. Hua Xiqian's plan is so meticulous that it's not strange that Yan Ruoshi doesn't know about it. But I don't think he trusts anyone, right? Ian probably doesn't know either. I think I'm going to meet someone now. Who? Xiao Fei looked at Lu Yan in confusion. Chapter 3004. Suyu. You want to see Suyu? Yes. After my sister and brother-in-law got into trouble, Suyu handled a lot of things. I think he should have a lot of the information I need. But does Suyu know who you are? Xiao Fei thought that the fewer people who knew about Lu Yan's identity, the better. After all, she was being hunted by people everywhere. He doesn't need to know who I am. He just needs to know that I want to help him. Then, Lu Yan put on her windbreaker and walked down the mountain. Despite her young age, Lu Yan was very efficient in her work. Meanwhile, on a deserted island, Hua Min slowly opened her eyes. To be honest, the moment Hua Xiqian jumped down with her in his arms, she thought she was going to die. Hua Min, who usually didn't even dare to ride roller coasters and drop towers, was dragged down to die together with someone. It felt like she had come into contact with death in an instant and didn't even have time to say her last words. Then, her mind went blank. She couldn't remember what happened next. Hua Min opened her eyes and saw a wooden roof. Then, she slowly looked around. He discovered that this was a small wooden hut. The decoration was simple but very warm. There were a few pots of flowers on the windowsill. She was lying on a thick mattress under the bed with a floral quilt. The pillow under her head was also very retro. It was the kind of pillow that was made of wood. This place didn't look like heaven at all. So, Hua Min thought that maybe she wasn't dead yet. Could it be that she had transmigrated or something? She was really afraid that she had transmigrated to ancient times. It would be better for her to die. Mian, you're finally awake. The man who opened the door saw Hua Min's eyes open and immediately smiled. The moment she heard Hua Xiqian's voice, Hua Min's heart fell to the bottom again. Hua Xiqian, you're not dead yet. Hua Xiqian was wearing a simple white sweatshirt and brown cotton pants. There was a hint of China style, but more of a rural feeling. It was just my plan, he said. Neither of us is dead. Where is this place? Where did you take me? Looking at the unfamiliar environment, Hua Min was very conflicted. This is a very place where no one can find us. It's a deserted island. You are a psycho. Upon hearing that it was a deserted island, Hua Min collapsed again. I was supposed to take you to my private island. There's a mansion, a garden, maids, gardeners, and a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. It's like heaven, but that island isn't safe yet and will be discovered. So, I plan to stay here for 3 to 5 years. When Qin Chu and Suyu give up looking for you and everyone thinks that you're really dead, I'll take you back to that island, okay? As Hua Xiqian spoke, he squatted down and looked gently into Hua Min's eyes. He spoke as if he was coaxing a child. Hua Xiqian, what's the point of doing this? You're imprisoning me. Hua Min was very angry and wanted to resist, but he couldn't summon any strength. No, this isn't imprisoning. Mian, this is companionship. I'm the only man who can be with you for the longest time. As he spoke, he placed his big hand on Hua Min's shoulder. Go away. Don't touch me. Hua Min struggled emotionally. Be careful, you're pregnant. Hua Xiqian reminded gently. Hua Min immediately looked at him in alarm and surprise. Chapter 3005. Don't look at me like that. I've known for a long time that you're pregnant. Upon hearing Hua Xiqian's words, Hua Min subconsciously reached out to protect his child. Don't worry, I won't hurt him. Upon seeing that Hua Min didn't say anything, Hua Xiqian continued, Mian, we've already left that dangerous place. From now on, it's just the two of us on this island. I'll let you give birth to the child safely, so you can live here with me, okay? Hua Xiqian, are you crazy? Hua Min couldn't take it anymore. I am crazy, I've been crazy for many years. Mian, it doesn't matter if you want to or not, you're living here with me. You have no other choice. This is an uninhabited island that isn't even on the map. Plus, I've installed a signal jamming device, so no one will find this place. Someone will bring us water and food regularly. We can live here without any worries, isn't that great? No, I don't want to live here. I want to go home. Hua Min wanted to get up, but he realized that his body was limp and weak, so he lay back down on the pillow. What did you do to me? Hua Min glared at Hua Xiqian. You're pregnant right now, what else can I do to you? You've only been unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights. You don't have any strength left. What? I've been unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights. Hua Min was slightly surprised. Then, 3 days and 3 nights must have been a long time for Qin Chu, right? Mian, everyone thinks that we're dead. Qin Chu saw me jump off the cliff with your own eyes. There was tumbling seawater below. No one knows that we're still alive. I'm doing this for your own good. Did you know that Ian has been looking for you? I've been helping you hide this from him, but he's so smart, his lies were quickly exposed. Ian isn't as merciful as I am. He kills without batting an eyelid. Otherwise, your father and sister wouldn't be so scared of him. You make it sound like you're my savior. Hua Min lay flat on the pillow and sneered slightly. I just want to say that the situation is already like this. You should accept reality, okay? After speaking, Hua Xiqian turned around and poured boiling water into a wooden basin on the ground. Then, he added cold water and washed a white towel with the warm water inside. Then, he was going to wipe Hua Min's face. I said get away, don't you hear me? Don't touch me, don't, or I'll die. Hua Min was also going crazy. When he found out that he was brought to an uninhabited island and that his signal was jammed, he was devastated. Hua Min's heart was devastated and tortured. Finally, at this moment, he exploded. Hua Xiqian was indeed kind enough to wipe her face, but at this moment, she thought of her husband and daughters. That feeling was worse than death. If Qin Chu thought that she was dead, he would definitely be sad to death, right? And the twins, if they knew that they would never see their mommy again, they would definitely be sad. At this thought, Hua Min broke down and cried for the first time. Hua Xiqian didn't dare to approach her anymore. Instead, he turned around and closed the door, leaving Hua Min alone in silence. Lu Yan originally planned to meet Su Yu. However, she received a tip from her subordinate at the last minute. Boss, Ian will arrive in Sea City in 3 hours. After hearing this, Lu Yan's expression changed slightly. Her worst fears came true. At such a critical moment, Ian, that big bastard, actually came. What's wrong? Qiao Fei asked her from behind. The weather is going to change. Lu Yan looked up at the hazy sky and said word by word. Chapter 3006. Hearing Lu Yan's words, Qiao Fei could guess what she meant. So, he didn't ask any more questions and quietly stayed by her side. Qiao Fei thought Lu Yan would ask Paul to set things up and then have a big fight with Ian. Unexpectedly, Lu Yan went to the Su family. only Lu Yan could come and go as she pleased in a heavily guarded place like the Su family's. Pudding and Little Bean were playing in the living room while Lady Su and the maids were planting camellias in the living room. There were many fresh bouquets in the living room while Little Bean played with Lady Su with a pair of scissors. Pudding sat quietly with her phone in her hand and seemed to have a lot on her mind. Hiss. Lu Yan made a strange noise in the kitchen towards the living room. Unfortunately, Pudding was too focused on her phone and didn't hear it. Damn it. My niece is really obsessed with her phone. It seems I need to play with something more advanced. Then, Lu Yan turned on her watch and quickly entered Pudding's phone. Pudding was browsing some news when she suddenly received a message. Pudding, come to the kitchen. Pudding froze and immediately turned her head to see her auntie in the kitchen. She looked at everyone vigilantly. Seeing that no one was looking at her, she got up and ran to the kitchen. Sis, where are you going? Little Bean looked at her sister curiously. I'm going to get a glass of water, Pudding said without looking back. Pudding couldn't suppress her excitement. After entering the kitchen, she even knew to close the door behind her. Then, she hugged Lu Yan's leg in her jeans. Auntie. Her voice was very small. Good girl. Lu Yan hugged Pudding with one hand and lifted her up. Although he looked thin and weak, he was extremely strong. Pudding, I have something to do. I might have to leave for a while. Where are you going? Pudding's eyes were filled with disappointment. I have to deal with bad guys. Then, when will you come back? Pudding pouted. I'll come back when your daddy recovers. But I don't want you to leave. Pudding grabbed Lu Yan's clothes tightly and said stubbornly. I know, but Auntie has to lure the bad guys away. Otherwise, Grandpa won't be able to operate on your father. Is Grandpa coming back? Pudding looked up, slightly surprised. Lu Yan nodded. So, baby, what I'm about to say is very serious. You have to listen carefully, okay? Lu Yan looked at Pudding seriously. Go ahead, Auntie. Pudding nodded. Because Auntie and Grandpa's identities are special and cannot be mentioned to outsiders, when Grandpa comes back, so you will definitely not agree to let Grandpa operate on Daddy. At this time, you have to convince Su Yu. Grandpa's medical skills are very good. You have to convince Su Yu and not reveal Grandpa's identity, okay? That does sound difficult, Pudding mused. Of course. If it wasn't difficult, why would I give it to you? I know you're smart, Auntie, don't flatter me. I'm not as good as you say. I'm just a 3-year-old baby. I even have to drink milk every day. Lu Yan almost laughed out loud. If she wasn't afraid that the people in the living room would hear her, she would have laughed out loud. This kid had fast reflexes. If Auntie doesn't lure the bad guys away, Grandpa won't be able to operate on your daddy. So, we have to work together. If you think it's impossible, Auntie will think of a way. Lu Yan also felt that this was a difficult task for a kid. Chapter 3007. It's okay, Auntie. I think I can handle it, Pudding said word by word. Are you sure? Yeah. I know how to deal with handsome Su. Pudding looked confident. Okay, little Tsundere. I'll leave this difficult task to you. Auntie. How can I contact you if there's an emergency? Lu Yan waved the watch on her wrist. I've saved your number. I'll contact you if there's an emergency. Okay. Pudding didn't like to be in a passive position, but she was comforted by her auntie's words. Okay. I'll leave now. You can go back now. Little Bean will come to you soon. Auntie. Pudding held Lu Yan's hand reluctantly. Yeah. Be careful when you fight bad guys. Don't get hurt. Okay. Lu Yan's heart warmed at Pudding's words. On her way out, she was still talking to Xiao Fei. What do you think? When my sister comes back, I'll ask her to give me Pudding as my daughter. What do you think? Why? Xiao Fei was speechless. Because Pudding is very sensible and smart. When I came out, she told me to be careful. To be honest, I haven't had such a warm child in a long time. I don't think your sister will agree, Xiao Fei said. Why not? They're twins, why did you have to break them apart? Also. Xiao Fei paused. What do you mean? Lu Yan looked curious. You like kids. Can't you give birth to one yourself? Why do you want to take your sisters? Lu Yan, damn it. Give birth to one myself. Do you want me to give birth to one with you? Lu Yan said in annoyance. Not with me. Do you think you can give birth to one yourself? Xiao Fei said nonchalantly. Xiao Fei. What do you mean? Damn it. You eat and drink my food and want me to give birth to your child. Why do I love you so much? Lu Yan rolled her eyes. Yeah. I don't know why I'm so charming that you love me so much. Fuck. Psycho Xiao, you're shameless. Lu Yan pointed at Xiao Fei and scolded him as they walked. Xiao Fei didn't react until they were out of the city. Are we leaving this place? Xiao Fei wondered. Yeah. But we're not done yet, are we? There's no time. I have to lure Ian away first. Otherwise, how can Father come here? If Ian knows that Father is here, he'll bring the entire army here and start a massacre. I see. Xiao Fei nodded. But don't get me wrong. I'm not pitying you or feeling that you've implicated the people of this city. I'm just worried that Father won't be able to operate on brother-in-law in peace. I understand, you don't have to explain. Xiao Fei knew Lu Yan didn't mean what she said. Although he always said, what does the life or death of others have to do with me? But in fact, Lu Yan had never wrongly killed a good person. Although she was greedy for money, the business she took on was done by those desperados. The people he killed were either terrorists, anti-government leaders, or core members of evil cults. But she always acted as if she was a demoness, a homicidal maniac, and so on. It was as if she was trying to hide the purest kindness in her heart. Xiao Fei loved this side of Lu Yan. After all, she was still a simple girl. On Ian's private plane, Sir, we'll arrive at the destination in half an hour. The plane is landing now. Please hold on tight. Just as the subordinate finished speaking, the tail of the plane suddenly caught fire. The plane lost its balance and began to descend rapidly. Sir, bad news. Someone hacked our control system remotely. The pilot opened the door and shouted anxiously. Chapter 3008. A bunch of trash. Ian cursed in a low voice. A sweet and delicate oriental face appeared on the monitor in the cabin. Hello, Ian. Long time no see. Oh, it's my beloved baby. Ian looked at Lu Yan's screen and smiled evilly. Since we've been friends for many years, I want to give you a gift. How about a skydive? Are you surprised? Are you surprised? After Lu Yan said this, the plane began to shake violently. The pilot took out a set of emergency bags and handed it to Ian. Sir, the plane is about to crash. We have to do an emergency parachute jump. Although he was unwilling, he had no other choice to save his life. Under the help of his subordinates, Ian put on the parachute and stood up slightly. Have a safe trip. Then, Lu Yan blew him a kiss. Ian's face turned from green to white. All these years, no matter who it was, they would be afraid when they heard Ian's name. Even the evil religious fanatic, Levis, was respectful when he saw him. Only Lu Yan, this Asian woman with delicate features, had never taken him seriously. She even played some deadly games with him from time to time, giving him surprises and surprises. He loved and hated her at the same time. Just like that, before Ian's plane reached the destination, Lu Yan hacked into the system remotely, causing the plane to crash. However, Lu Yan knew that this wasn't enough to kill Ian. For someone like Ian, it was too difficult to kill him. He had a lot of talents and masters around him. Even if he jumped into the sea, he would be fine. Because in less than 10 minutes, reinforcements would come to his rescue. On a cliff not far away, Lu Yan looked at the crashed plane through her binoculars and snapped her middle and index fingers. Awesome, Yan, you're provoking Ian in public. Are you tired of living? Xiao Fei stood behind Lu Yan with his arms crossed. She was already being chased by Ian's men. Now that she didn't find it exciting enough, she deliberately blew up his plane. Xiao Fei felt that in the whole world, only Lu Yan dared to provoke Ian in public like this. Because she was indeed a barefooted person who wasn't afraid of wearing shoes. No, I'm tired of living. Lu Yan turned around and chuckled. Xiao Fei, I'm just teasing you. Look at your expression. Don't look at me like I'm an idiot, okay? I'm just trying to distract him because Daddy is about to arrive. I can't let Ian know that Daddy is here. If he knows, the world will be in chaos. When will the professor arrive? They're on their way. They'll arrive in about 6 hours. Lu Yan glanced at her watch. To be honest, Xiao Fei was surprised. It was said that the professor didn't go to Russia when he was shot. Later, Qin Chu went and performed surgery on him. It wasn't because the professor was influential and couldn't be invited, but because the professor rarely left the United States. Without the protection of the Federation, people like the professor would be targeted by all the evil forces in the world. This was because the things he had developed could plunge the entire world into chaos. Power was always the deepest desire of human beings. Obtaining a professor was almost equivalent to obtaining the highest level of power. Therefore, he couldn't fall into anyone's hands. Even Lu Yan hadn't seen her biological father for more than 2 years. Did such a person really come to see City this time? Xiao Fei was looking forward to it. Chapter 3009. Outside the intensive care unit of the military hospital, the 4 bodyguards had been replaced by 6. 4 more people were added to the ward. Suyu always felt that he was careless, which was why he didn't notice that someone had sneaked in. Shen Mingxi held the little girl's hand and stood at the door. Young Master Shen. I'm here to see Qin Chu. Emichim, President Su told me. You can go in. Okay. Shen Mingxi opened the door and entered the ward with the child. Shen Mingxi and Qin Chu weren't close, but because of his relationship with Su Yu, he used to be friends with Huamin and the others. Now that such a big thing had happened, it wouldn't be right if he didn't come. No matter what, Shen Mingxi felt that he should come and see him. So before he came, he called Su Yu and asked for Su Yu's permission before he came. Qin Chu was still unconscious and wearing an oxygen mask. Shen Mingxi was deeply touched. This godlike man could hover between life and death in an instant. It was obvious that humans were very fragile. If one's life was gone, how could one talk about love and fantasize about the next life? Uncle Shen, isn't this Pudding and Little Bean's father? Emichim, what's wrong with him? He's sick. How pitiful. If Pudding and Little Bean knew, they would be sad, right? Yeah, children without a father are pitiful. Shen Mingxi sighed. After hearing this, Tian Tian immediately held Shen Mingxi's hand tightly. Fortunately, Tian Tian still has Uncle Shen. The child's words pierced Shen Mingxi's heart slightly. Then why didn't Auntie Mian come? Auntie Mian, something happened and can't come back. If their father can't be cured, without him, Auntie Mian won't come, and they won't have mommy. Then, are they also orphans? Shen Mingxi didn't answer. Children's questions were always naive, and children's words carried no harm. Uncle Shen, if the sisters' fathers aren't good, can you take in the two sisters? Shen Mingxi looked at Xiao Tian Tian curiously. He didn't understand why she would say that. Uncle Shen, Auntie Mian used to treat Tian Tian very well. She always bought me new clothes and food for Tian Tian. She even took Tian Tian home to play with the sisters. If something happened to them, the two sisters would be orphans. If they were sent to the orphanage, they would be bullied. I heard that the orphanage isn't a good place. Some vicious teachers would beat the children because the children there are all orphans. Even if they were beaten, no one would care. I don't want the two sisters to be like that. I can eat less in the future. Uncle Shen, can you take the two sisters in and live with me? Shen Mingxi finally understood what Tian Tian meant. She wanted Shen Mingxi to take in the twins and not let them become orphans. Tian Tian, don't worry. Uncle Shen doesn't need to take care of Pudding and Little Bean. Many people are willing to take care of them, Shen Mingxi explained patiently. If Qin Chu and Huamin really couldn't come back, then Su Yu would be the best candidate to take care of the twins, right? He wasn't their biological father, but he was better than their biological father. Just then, the door to the ward was pushed open. Shen Mingxi turned around and saw Su Yu walk in. Shen Mingxi nodded slightly. Uncle Su, Tian Tian greeted him. Su Yu nodded and didn't say anything. To be honest, he didn't like Hui Yan Yan, so he didn't like her daughter. How's the investigation going? Any progress? Shen Mingxi asked. Chapter 30:10. There hasn't been any progress. Su Yu didn't seem to be in a good mood. What about the whole corporation? It's almost done. With Yan Ruoshi's information, it shouldn't be a problem to investigate the whole corporation. Yan Ruoshi is willing to help us. Shen Mingxi was surprised. Yes. With the current situation, she has no reason to hide. She's just a chess piece abandoned by Hua Xiqian. How could she not know her place? You're right. Shen Mingxi nodded. But I checked Hua Xiqian's assets. Something's not right. What's not right? The whole corporation is pretty much an empty shell now. I don't know where most of the money went, and I can't verify it. I suspect that he used other channels to transfer the money away. I've also checked the foreign accounts, and there's not a single cent under his name. Then he probably used another name, Shen Mingxi said. Yes. It seems that this psychopath has been preparing for this for a long time. After investigating this, Su Yu was quite gratified. The plan was so thorough. If he knew how to transfer the money, he definitely wouldn't seek death. So if Hua Xiqian wasn't dead, then Huamin was also alive. Thinking that Huamin was still alive, Su Yu was more or less gratified. We're here to see Qin Chu. We'll leave first. If you need me, contact me anytime. Okay. After Shen Mingxi left, he took Tian Tian to the psychiatric treatment center under the city bureau. Hui Yan Yan had been locked up there and hadn't left. Shen Mingxi brought the child to visit her every few days. Recently, he hadn't come for about a week because he had been busy with work. According to the people in the city bureau, Hui Yan Yan seemed to have regained her consciousness. Shen Mingxi wasn't sure if it was because the drug had worn off. Tian, what do you want to say to Mom when you see her later? Shen Mingxi asked. I want to tell her that I miss her very much. Alright. Uncle Shen, can I give my mommy a bite of the chocolate bar you bought for me? She should be very happy to eat something sweet. The little girl said. Sure. The policewoman brought them all the way to Hui Yanyan's room. She has been able to move freely these few days and can communicate normally. She even knows how to complain that our food is not good. I think she has almost recovered. Can you discuss with our director if you want to take her out? Alright, I'll make plans for this later. Then, the policewoman opened the door and Shen Mingxi walked in with the child. Hui Yanyan was wearing a white hospital gown. She sat on the bed and looked out of the window. No one knew what she was thinking. She turned her head when she heard the door open. Her expression changed when she saw Shen Mingxi and her daughter. Mommy. Tian ran over and hugged Hui Yanyan. However, it was obvious that she was indifferent. Shen Mingxi didn't know if she didn't react in time or if she was just cold. Mommy, look, what did I bring you? This is the chocolate bar Uncle Shen bought for me. It's very sweet. I saved one for you. Tian placed the chocolate bar in her mother's hand carefully. To her surprise, Hui Yanyan threw it to the ground. What the hell is this? Give it to me, Mommy. Tian looked at her mother pitifully and didn't know what to do. Are you my daughter or his daughter? Are you used to living a rich life and don't want to come back? Hui Yanyan looked at the child viciously and questioned. Chapter 30:11. I didn't. Mom. I didn't. Tian was so scared that tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at her unfamiliar mother. Hui Yanyan, that's enough. Don't take it out on the child. She's innocent. Shen Mingxi couldn't stand it anymore. Shut up. I'm disciplining my daughter. What right do you have to interfere? You're not related to the child. Hui Yanyan glared at Shen Mingxi with hatred. You, what? Do you think I don't know what you're up to? You're pretending to be a good guy. Others will think you're a righteous man who broke up with your mistress and took care of her child. That way, Wei Ying's heart will soften. She'll think you're kind and come back to be with you, right? How come you're so dark now? Shen Mingxi sighed slightly. Looking at Hui Yanyan now, there was no trace of her former self. What? Did I say something wrong? This has nothing to do with Wei Ying. Don't drag her into this. Ha! Do you feel sorry for your ex-wife? Hui Yanyan, are you done? No. How could I say enough? Who did this to me? It's all your fault. You're all living a luxurious life. But what about me? All my family members are gone. They're all dead. My dad, my mom, my brother. They're all dead. Hui Yanyan roared. Even now, you still don't understand. You put all the blame on others. This is a sign of not taking responsibility. I won't argue with you about the ridiculous things you did in the past. There's no need to mention what happened between the two of us. However, Tian has always been the most innocent. Since you brought her into this world, you have to love her well. Don't instill hatred in her like what your mother taught you. If you do, her life will be ruined. Shen Mingxi, don't talk about morality and benevolence. You're not that noble, are you? You just think that if you don't take care of Tian, people will criticize you behind your back. In order to maintain your image as a Prince Charming, you have to pretend to take care of my daughter, right? Is this kind of charity and pity meaningful? Is it tiring to put on a show? I'm not putting on a show. I really want to take care of Tian Tian. Shen Mingxi was furious. People like you always do things with a purpose. Could it be that you want to raise my daughter so that you can take advantage of her like an old cow? Hui Yanyan finished her words. Slap. Shen Mingxi viciously slapped him across the face. He slapped Hui Yanyan's face mercilessly, making her face burn. As a mother, what are you saying in front of your child? Hui Yanyan, you're crazy. Shen Mingxi couldn't take any more of Hui Yanyan's vicious words. Only the devil would know how dirty her words were. Uncle Shen, Tian Tian was terrified. At this critical moment, she ran to Shen Mingxi, hugged his leg, and cried. Little bastard, I raised you for nothing. Now you're abandoning your own mother for someone who's not related to you by blood. Hui Yanyan covered her slapped cheek and looked at her daughter viciously. Since you've recovered, you should treat your illness properly. With that, Shen Mingxi walked out with Tian Tian. Come back, you bastard. Hui Yanyan suddenly stood up and tried to grab Shen Mingxi like a madwoman. However, the policewoman stopped her outside the door and locked it. Hui Yanyan's illness is not only good, it's even more important. I'll tell your director to continue the treatment here, Shen Mingxi said coldly to the policewoman. Shen Mingxi, you'll die a horrible death. You locked me up on purpose to take my daughter away. You'll get what you deserve. Hui Yanyan cursed madly behind him. Outside the Municipal Public Security Bureau, Tian Tian, Uncle Shen will arrange for you to study abroad, okay? Shen Mingxi asked with tears in his eyes. Chapter 30:12. Tian Tian immediately hugged Shen Mingxi's thigh tightly. Tears streamed down her face. Uncle Shen, I don't want to go abroad. I want to leave this place. Don't kick me out, okay? I'm not kicking you out, Tian Tian. I'm thinking about your future. I'll find someone to go with you and take care of you. Shen Mingxi squatted down and explained patiently. After Hui Yanyan's vicious words, Shen Mingxi did reflect on himself. With his identity and situation, would it be convenient for him to take Tian Tian with him in the future? Would people gossip about him? Even if he didn't care about the consequences, what about the child? Would the child grow up to be traumatized? Shen Mingxi didn't want his child's life to be ruined because of his momentary pity. He could pay for her and take care of her. But if she was sent abroad and had a nanny to study with her, her life would be much better than it was now. After all, for Tian Tian, even if she went to school, she couldn't get rid of the trauma left by her mother. In a coffee shop, Auntie, you wanted to see me. Wei Ying was carrying the latest Chanel handbag and wearing an elegant off-white suit. Her long hair was dyed chestnut and fell down in a beautiful straight line. Sitting across from Wei Ying, Mrs. Shen had an illusion. She thought Wei Ying was much prettier than before she married Shen Mingxi. It seemed that a woman's appearance wasn't determined by her marriage. It was related to her mental state and her lifestyle. Now, Wei Ying was no longer full of doubts, cursing, finding fault, complaining, or even hating someone. After the divorce, she felt free. Ying, you're getting younger and younger. Mrs. Shen smiled. No, I'm just pretending to be young. I heard you just came back from a trip. Yeah. I've been addicted to traveling in the past 2 years. I go out with my friends from time to time. How are your parents? My dad's blood sugar is high and he's careful with his diet. My mom is healthy and often plays mahjong with her. Your brothers are running the company now, right? Yeah. It's mostly my brothers. I don't care about the company. Ying. You and Mingxi, you've been apart for years. Have you ever thought about looking for him? Mrs. Shen's words caught Wei Ying off guard. To be honest, Auntie, I didn't think that much. I heard from the people in the circle that you and the young master of the Yi family are very close. Mrs. Shen said it very vaguely. Obviously, everyone in the circle knew that Yi Xiaoyang was pursuing Wei Ying. Oh, we're just friends. He's a nice guy, Wei Ying commented as she lowered her head and took a sip of coffee, feeling a little embarrassed. Ying, actually, I have something to ask of you today. Auntie, please don't say that. After all, we used to be a family. If there's anything I can help you with, I'll definitely help you. Saying the word beg is too serious. Although Wei Ying used to be arrogant, she was still polite to her elders. This matter. I don't even know how to bring it up. To be honest, I know that asking for your help is a little unreasonable, but Auntie really has no other choice. Auntie, tell me what it is and I'll see if I can help. Wei Ying looked at Mrs. Shen. You must have heard that the little bitch Hui Yinyan's child is with Mingxi, right? Mrs. Shen said slowly. Yeah. I heard about it. Ying. Can you help me persuade Mingxi not to take that burden with him? Mrs. Shen grabbed Wei Ying's hand and said in a pleading tone, You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.